At this point, we've worked with hundreds of people, creators and agencies, and the people that we see getting the worst results are the ones that focus all their time and energy on black hat methods, playing the cat and mouse game with the social networks, trying to find growth hacks and shortcuts that only end up wasting their time and losing trust with social networks. So the best strategy moving forward is to use compliant systems and tools that will make your workflow as efficient as possible, but to do it in a way that follows the guidelines of what these social networks actually want. So that's what we're going to get into today. And I'm here with Stephen. So welcome to the Organic Content Masterclass. This is how you make OnlyFans models famous. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. Right. So before we get into this organic content masterclass, a couple of things I want to go over first. Now, why should you actually listen to us? Well, this is a creator that I've personally worked with that we have taken from pretty much zero to $189,000 a month, and we'll probably do 200K this month. It's obviously the 1st of February today, and this was all from organic, no paid ads, no agency dependent traffic, none of that, none of the black hat methods. And the reason I want to show this graphic in specific is purely because if something like this ever happens, which is quite possible right now, relying on trending sounds and copycatting everyone isn't going to work. And that's what all the lazy agencies do. They just think that creating good content and going viral and, getting traffic is all about, let's find out what's trending. Let's find out like how we can copy this, and let's just send our models a bunch of trends that they can go and copy. And that is like the complete wrong way to go about it. That's not how you actually make creators famous. And we're going to dive into this today. But if we just look at this, like UMG reportedly to pull music catalog from TikTok starting tomorrow at midnight following unsuccessful negotiations, right? So you're going to have to know how to create organic viral content. You're going to have to study organic influencer marketing. You're going to have to know how to get results like this without relying on trends and trending sounds and what's trending and all of that kind of side of things. Steve, is there anything you want to say particularly on this issue, and why now it's going to be more important than ever to actually go all in on just creating good content, unique content?
You've definitely covered it at its core. I mean, one of the critical points you made there was about what lazy agencies do, right? So, like, if you're a model watching this particularly, right, and an agency's trying to sell you on the dream, oh, I can make you famous, or we've got robots that are going to repost your content, and that sort of vibe, like, it used to be the situation where volume was a game. You could volumize your content and reach the maximum number of eyeballs by just putting out 100 accounts and reposting on all of them. But platforms like TikTok, they're wise to that. You can't just go ahead and post the same content 100 times anymore. It's going to get taken down. You're just going to get throttled on all your accounts, first and foremost. And then obviously with this news this week, where like Universal are effectively in a dispute over, the pay situation that's going on there. I'm not going to get into the details. You can go and read the articles and stuff, but a dispute like that can occur with anyone. And with these companies, there are only really 3 major companies in the world that own all of these sounds. If TikTok keep going down this route, right, like next it'll be Warner that pulls the sounds, next it'll be Sony after that. There'll be no sounds left, and you're going to end up on a silent platform. But even then, a lot of the creators that I work with don't use music. They use their own voice, they use their own original sounds to generate all of their traffic, and they're doing it all on one account, building accounts that be like 500K on IG, for example, and just pulling in our traffic from that position rather than having all these, these repost accounts. So yeah, it's absolutely critical, more so today than ever before, that you understand the content engine and that you understand the way that organic content is built and produced and put out into the public space to turn your clients effectively in the OFM space no longer into OF girls, as it were, but to build actual influencers. That's what we're going to focus on today.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's super key. I think a lot of people look at it wrong. Like a lot of people are focusing on making OnlyFans girls. A lot of people are focusing on how do I create OnlyFans models? How do I blow up OnlyFans models? When you should be looking at it the other way. Like, how do I create influencers, right? Because you don't want to create OnlyFans models because that's how it's such a saturated kind of market of just like looking like every other OnlyFans girl. Like, are you just doing, scandal class sort of like post where you're in your lingerie and it's very like sort of slutty, if that's the word that you would use, right? And everyone is doing it, and everyone thinks that that's what it is. Like, I've worked with creators where they're doing that style of content, and yeah, maybe they get to 10, 20K a month, and then they come to me and work with me, and they're like, I'm like, right, we're not actually going to be doing this anymore. Like, we're going to get rid of this. Like, we're doing a complete new plan. And they're like, wait, really? I don't have to do this to convert subs to my OnlyFans? I'm like, no. We'll actually convert way more if we do this strategy. And they're always shocked. And also, not only that, but they're also actually more comfortable, because they're not actually quite comfortable putting that stuff out on social media, on Instagram and on TikTok anyway. And so, like, they'd prefer to be more their authentic self than be branded as an OnlyFans girl. And so, like, every creator I've worked with that's, like, you know, in the millions of followers now, we never went down that route of making them and branding them like an OnlyFans girl. Like, if you look at the top OnlyFans girls, like Anna Paul, like, she's, yes, there's hints of it, but like, you don't know she's an OnlyFans girl. Like, she's not an OnlyFans girl. A lot of people don't even know she has OnlyFans. If you look at people like Katie Sigmund, when she did OnlyFans, like, she was just like that golf girl, that like one of the boys. And so, like, all the top creators, I mean, that are making, like, you know, 500K, 600K, 700K a month, they're influencers that just happen to have an OnlyFans. They're the girl next door that just happens to have an OnlyFans, right? It's like you have, like, the porn star girls that, yeah, they're fun for a night. Maybe you sub for them once and see what happens. But then you have, like, the girl next door, which is like the girl you actually want to go after, which is like the one that has the wild side. And so, like, you're more intrigued, you'll spend more money, you'll get more subs. And so, like, it's a lot better to build influencers rather than OnlyFans models. And we're going to get into a ton of stuff, you know, treating it like a partnership, not just a dictatorship, where you're just like, send trends, and you don't actually explain the thought process behind it, or you don't create together. And so we're going to get into a lot of that stuff today. Now, the thing I want to cover first, we're going to cover a bulletproof, acid-tested 3-step process to making OnlyFans creators famous through organic content, right? And the main 3 steps is going to be understanding content as a concept, understanding how to prepare a model for content, and understanding the delivery practice of content. Now, the first thing that I actually want to cover is, you know, what is content? I want to break it down in as much depth as possible, right? So we're talking about organic content. Now, I'm going to open up a Lucid chart and explain, you know, the basic understanding and psychology behind effective content, effective scripting, and sort of my essential social media frameworks, right? Now, with these essential social media frameworks, you always produce content that serves the viewer first and yourself second. Now, there's tons of things around this. I mean, even when it comes to working with models, a lot of people always just think, like, how can this model make me the most amount of money possible? How can I create content that's going to convert the most and going to make me the most amount of money? And that's how you get stuck into creating OnlyFans-based content, very sexual-based content. And, you know, because everyone's doing that. Yeah, it works for some, but you actually end up competing on looks most of the time. And you don't actually build any longevity or long-term brand. And so, like, yeah, you might spike up one month, and the next month, and you might be up on an upwards trajectory doing 20, 30, 40K a month, but you're never going to get to that influencer territory and be like the Anna Pauls, where you can sustainably do 500, 600, 700K plus per month. And you never actually have a core audience. You just have a bunch of horny guys that follow you, and you never really build a true audience, right? And so it's like the quote of, it's better to have 1,000 true fans than 100,000 people that just kind of just follow you just to see what's going on, right? And so you always want to produce content that serves the viewer first, and yourself second. And that means that's for everything, right? If you're thinking, like, right, how is this content going to convert the most? How can I get the most from the viewers? That's not the way. You want to create content for the viewer first. And that's arguably, like, one of the most important concepts when it comes to content. Steve, have you got anything to say on that? Because I know you also find this to be true.
Yeah, like, it's so when we, in my agency, when we really started looking at this over the course of the last 6 months or so, and we're like, right, we're making all these OnlyFans trends, and we were building accounts, don't get me wrong, and we were making money, and we were making models happy. But we started to take on a new kind of client and do this sort of testing with what you say, and that was the core lesson we were providing. It was make content for the viewer, not for yourself. Because a lot of models want to make content that they like, oh, I like that trend, I'm just going to make it. And I challenge that fundamental thinking for them, like, why would you make it though? Does it leverage your time well? Does it actually engage with your audience? And we're going to come into this later on in the conversation about what their brand is and why the content serves them. They're fundamentally tied together. But the whole concept of actually making content that does not service you individually is mind-bending in itself, because it's actually a really hard thing. I found as well as a content sort of director, we'll call myself, right, in the business, because I'm giving them ideas and trying to bring them forward and stuff. As a sort of content director, right, it's really hard to change your focus from that old way. Let's make trends. Let's copy this girl because she's doing really well. Let's copy this industry, or let's copy, that sort of niche space. Like, changing your mindset, because I guarantee everybody watching this is in the same place. They're like, oh, I'm going to follow that OnlyFans girl. I'm going to copy the same trends because my girl looks like her, right? My model looks the same, so I'm going to deliver in that way. And you need to change your mindset entirely, first of all, to think about how you want content to happen. And then you can start to apply some of these principles that's in Dylan's chart here. Because he's going to come on, we're going to talk about like hooks and stuff next, right? We're going to talk about how the brain works. And as we go through that, it's going to become fun. It's going to become very quickly apparent to you that the way you think about content today is fundamentally wrong.
And I think learning organic marketing, like how you actually create organic marketing, like learning organic marketing, and especially organic marketing when it comes to influencers, and studying the best of the best influencers that are really good at organic marketing, like working with people that are good with organic marketing, like paying for advisors, like rather than like that's the number one thing that I did, is like I went out and found all the best, like whether it was the actual influencer that's creating the content or the strategist behind them, and I was like, can I please pay you to learn how you do this? Because I seen organic content marketing as like the biggest thing, and now I've got all those lessons and all those knowledge from them, and it was the best investment I've ever made in this space, because it's an evergreen method that can never go outdated. So if there's one key skill to master over everything in this industry, in my opinion, is mastering organic marketing. And if you can master organic marketing, then you're going to be good for forever, because it's something that's never going to die out, because again, attention is the new oil. So yeah, let's just go back over some of these effective essential social media frameworks, right? So now, a couple of things, right? We've got good media, right? So good content it could be educational, entertaining, controversial, emotionally charged, universally understood, related to trending news and topics, right? It could be a mixture of all these things, but realistically you want one or two. So for example, it could be entertaining and educational, which is kind of what we call edutainment, right? And so, you don't have to have every single one of these things, but universally understood is a really big one. And so like, if you can at least have one or two of these, and tend to be the more the better, but you don't want to overdo it either. But like, if you was to hit every single box, then I'm sure the video would do pretty well, as long as you add the other essential parts of the framework in like together, right? And so these are key, right? You want to make sure that you're at least ticking one of these boxes when you're creating content, right? But also it should be triggering in some way, right? And triggering content, it can be specific things. So, is it to do with money or prices? So for an example, if I was to make a video, how I spend my 400K per month salary as an online pimp, right? If I was to say something like that, that's triggering. I'm talking about money. And so like, it's an interesting concept, right? Then you have numbers and comparisons, sex or love, exclusivity and power, survival, self-preservation, happiness, health and well-being, power and control, freedom and politics. And these are just all psychological principles from our cognitive biases that we understand and that will hook our attention, right? And then the last one is replicable, right? Always track the results of content and focus on the topics, aka the verticals and styles, and concepts that are working until you have a formula that works. If you're just creating content with your models, in the sense of like, if you're just sending them trends, or you're just sending them what would work, or even if you are coming up with unique ideas and you're sending it to them and say, do this, and you're not actually tracking what you're doing, you're just randomly waking up every day, there's no clear structure, there's no clear content team that you have, you're just simply like, oh, well, better go and find some more trends on TikTok today, or better go find some what's popping on Reels, this works, because you're following a bunch of OnlyFans girls, this works, I'll just send her these 5 for today, tell it to recreate them. That's not how you have a content machine. That's not how this business works. You're not going to get far doing that, right? At least when I'm talking about ultra famous, I'm trying to make creators make at least 500K a month, right? If I'm not talking about baby numbers, making 30 grand a month, 40 grand a month. If you're happy making 30, 40 grand a month, by all means, continue to do your thing. But it's just going to get harder and more difficult as more people come into the space. So you want to be leveraging your unique personality, your model's unique personality and her unique authenticity, right? And so we'll get into that in a bit, but scripting structures, right? Three main parts to a scripting structure. And this doesn't have to be like a legit written script, but it can be frameworks. This is how you want to follow it, right? So the hook is obviously the most important part, and we'll dive into hooks in a bit. But the hook, all you're doing with the hook is building a feeling around the video's purpose. So you go to the video's purpose and you just ask why. Like, what is the purpose of this video, and why are we making it? And then that's how you can come up with the hook, and you create the hook around around the feeling around the video purpose, right? Then you have the body, which is meant to support the hook with reinforcing statements, visuals, and value propositions. And then you have the value prop, and this is why people are likely going to save your video, whether it's informative, educational, universally understood, emotionally charged, related to trending news and topics, all these different things, right? What good media is. Now, the next thing is going to be the psychological parts of hooks and of content in general. Now, the lizard brain, right? AKA the amygdala. Now, this is the part of your brain that is pain fleeing, right? And so the reason why negative connotations are more effective than positive ones is because this part of our brain, it hits the amygdala, right? Which is the lizard part of the brain, which is pleasure seeking and pain fleeing, right? And pain avoidance is priority. So if you have negative hooks or negative connotations in your content, even if your overall content is positive and your overall message of the video is positive, it's always going to do better and it's always going to catch more attention because it's going to hit that part of our amygdala and get us from our logical part of the brain, which is obviously the neocortex, is going to get us from that logical part of the brain into our lizard brain. And so that's why you see a lot of people using negative hooks or negative connotations in their videos, right? Now, the next thing is going to be the appeal to everyone, right? So the effective framing and packaging of niche information will reach more people, right? And so packaging is super important when it comes to content, and you need to have good packaging and overall like a good brand. And we will get into this in a bit, but packaging is super key, right? Now, the next thing is going to be the Ewok principle, right? Which is all the content you create needs to be effective without context, right? So every piece of media you create needs to be effective without content. And then we'll also cover this workflow in a bit. And then another couple of things on the essential social media frameworks is second person language, right? So what not to do, and this isn't all the time, you don't have to like abide by this specific thing as a Bible, like never use me, mine language. But in terms of content that tends to perform better, if we look at data, you want to be using you, your, yours, or our language, right? So for an example, the wrong way to do it would be, let's just say we're making a video about McDonald's. Eating McDonald's makes me feel sick. I don't respond well to the chemicals and preservatives they put in my food. If that pops up, okay, cool. I don't give a fuck. Eating McDonald's makes me feel sick. I'm going to swipe, right? I don't give a fuck if eating McDonald's makes you feel sick. I don't care how you respond to the chemicals. Makes no difference to me. I'm going to scroll. Whereas if you change the framing and you use you, your, yours, or our language, it creates a feeling of like camaraderie. It creates a feeling of familiarity, right? And so if you instead say McDonald's is making you sick because of all the chemicals and preservatives that they put in your food, then I'm going to be like, wait, McDonald's is making me sick? I just had a McDonald's. Like, wait, they put in chemicals and preservatives in my food? What the fuck? And then I'm going to be like, obviously, I'm going to be triggered, right? I'm going to be thinking about like, oh, damn, like what the fuck's going on with McDonald's? Like, I need to figure this out, right? And so like, while this isn't a rule of like never use me, my, I language, because as you get more advanced in terms of creating content, me, like it doesn't mean that if you use me or my or I language, the video isn't going to go viral. That's not how content works. But this is like just an essential framework to understand, right? Now, a couple other things, right? Personal branding. Now, your account should have a face or regular faces that are always present in their media, right? So cross-promoting girls, you know, you see at the high level when we're talking about like, you know, OnlyFans girls collabing and this kind of thing, right? You want regular faces, you want characters, or just at least have your own face, right? Faceless creators, you know, come on, guys, like it's fucking 2024. Like, stop working with faceless creators unless you're gonna AI face swap them, which is another video. But we're not gonna get into that. I'm not gonna get distracted, right? Now, next
Not for here,
principle.
man. Not for here.
The next principle is the Halloween test, right? So this is what you want to think of when branding and packaging, right? Could someone dress up as the face of your channel, right? When you're building an influencer, when you're creating an influencer, could someone dress up as the face of your channel, right? Is there any unique character traits or any unique things that they have in their content? I know you don't have to have this, and like, but it can help with the overall packaging and branding, right? And if we even look at, if we take the business niche, for example, right? Like Hamosi is a perfect example, right? He passes the Halloween test. You could go and check on an acquisition.com hat, put a beard on and put a nose strip on and a vest, and people would know you're Hamosi, right? So that's the Halloween test. You can think of that kind of thing, right? And now the next thing is going to be the tip of the tongue test, right? Could someone describe your look or mannerisms and have others know who they're talking about, right? So if I was like explaining, yo, who's that guy? Like the guy with like the orange like skin and like the toupee blonde hair. He's like this rich like billionaire guy. You know, you run for president. He talks with his hands. Like, oh, you'd be like, oh yeah, Donald Trump. He passes the tip of the tongue test, right? And so some of the best influencers, best creators, you can do that and they'll pass the tip of the tongue test and you'll know who they're talking about, right? And so that's super key as well. Now, we're not going to cover this today because this kind of stuff is just a basic framework. And I don't want you guys to get lost on these specific things because a lot of people want to focus on the mechanical means of social media, right? So a lot of people want to try and get mechanical advantage because they're too lazy to actually become good at creating really good content. So a lot of people want to think that it's down to time of day when I post, it's down to hashtags I use, it's down to sounds I use. When in reality, like those things have probably maybe a 1% boost if you actually have good content. But otherwise, like you can create viral videos without trending sounds, without hashtags, without the time of day. Like none of that shit really truly matters. The only thing that matters is creating good content, getting good at organic marketing and creating good content. That is the sole takeaway from this video. Just create good content. Copy another OnlyFans based trends and doing bippity bop. Oh, use some underwear. Oh, I appear. That's not good fucking content, right? So that's something I want to touch on there. Steve, have you got anything to add to what I just talked about?
First of all, disappointment. That's the first thing I've got to add because I know for a fact, right, that you basically have an Alex Hormozi costume nearby, and I thought you were going to put it on there as part of this video. Dylan's a massive Hormozi fanboy. He's got the hat. I'm pretty sure he's probably got the nose strip, and I've seen him wear the vest. So yep. I was gutted, mate. I thought you were going to go for it, but like we can do another video on that. There we go. We can do another video on that another time. But like, yeah, I think like the most important thing for me in there, right, is coming back to that sort of the core value of the content. Make sure that you're creating proper, unique stuff. This mechanical advantage stuff. This is stuff that black hat marketers try and sell you every day of the week. I know, I've bought this garbage, right?
Because it's fast and easy. People are always looking for the fast and easy answer.
Yeah. And I think that's the point I want to touch on here. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to sit here, right, and try and put people off, right? But I've got a very, very unique personal experience of this, right? Dylan's been mentoring me for some time, right? And we've moved into a sort of partnership position now. But for a long time, right, like I was asking Dylan questions about how to run this business. And one of the questions I repeatedly asked him and other people on his team was, how do I make good content? And he couldn't give me an answer. It's not that he couldn't give me an answer that was the right answer. It's that he couldn't give me an answer that I wanted, right? So he gave me the answer we've just shared with you today, right? You need to understand hooks. You need to understand how the brain works. You need to understand all of the different pieces, right? And that's not the answer I wanted. I wanted the mechanical advantage answer. I wanted them to tell me, you post this many times per day, you post at this time specifically, you post on this platform in this way, and that platform on that way, on this device with location settings and US SIMs and all of this stuff, all this garbage, right? That's the answer all of you want. And I'm going to tell you now, unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You don't, like, obviously you Dylan mentioned it again, you went and you bought some courses and you spoke to a bunch of people and they told you the one thing that you've actually not shared so far, and it's that they didn't teach you how to do it either. You learned roughly what they're doing, and then you had to go and learn to do it on your own anyway. You get the framework, which we've just given you, literally just giving you the framework, but having the framework's not enough. You need to actually do some work and start learning. And it's like it is literally a muscle, and you need to develop and strengthen that muscle and get it stronger and stronger constantly. And until that is done, you will not be good at making content. I'll be honest, my YouTube channel, it's a fledgling YouTube channel. I am very much a beginner content creator, but I understand how content works now. And so I'm avoiding a lot of the pitfalls, I hope anyway, on my channel. I'm avoiding a lot of the pitfalls that you make when you're just throwing out random garbage there and hoping for the best. And I'm going to post at 5:53 because that's my optimum time and all this nonsense. If you take anything away from the call today, this is not a fast route to victory, right? One of the key things you can do is get involved in a community of people doing this, right? If you have people doing this around you, you will learn faster than you will on your own. If only there was a community where that was happening. I don't know, Dylan, maybe we can do something about that in the future. But like that's, I learned inside the community environment. I asked Dylan the question, he gave me the answer I didn't want, and then I went back into the OFM community, inside the mentorship community. I worked with everybody there, and I was like, well, shit, that's how you do it. And I just learned and learned and learned over time. So
because even dropping content into the community, like, oh, is this good content? I just had my model create this. Like, we could just break it down. Maybe we should start doing breakdowns of like, this is a terrible hook. Like, retention on this video probably sucks. And like, the difference is as well. So like, for example, I'm about to start taking my YouTube channel quite seriously, because I've just been very lazy with it. Like, just being completely honest, it's very difficult to put as much time as we do into not only working with our like clients on our partnership program, but also like working with our actual clients at our agency, right? Because that's like our baby, that's our big business. And so like, it takes so much time to brainstorm ideas for them and to put like and pour into them and work with them. And I'll explain our content process is pretty insane. So to also like do that and then focus on my personal brand is like so difficult. But I'm going to stop trying to be a baby and I'm planning some things. And like, I understand how content works at a deep level. We've made multiple models at this point, like famous, like over 1 million followers, all organic, and we've done it in a short amount of time, and it's pretty easy for us now. And so like, especially in that vertical, like I really understand that. I would probably say a deeper level, if not a mastery level, of how to make a influencer out of a girl, like how to make a girl famous on social media in a specific niche that's authentic to her, right? And now the next part for me is mastering that for myself. Like, how do I master my niche? Like, how do I, and it's a learning curve for me, right? Like, I know a lot more about that side of things because that's where my focus has been for the last 3 years. And the thing is, like, I've learned a ton and I can apply some of the principles and stuff to my niche, but it's just a different audience, it's a different kettle of fish. So I've also kind of got to go through that process again with my own like personal brand and go through the journey again, because it's not like a fast journey of like, right, yeah, now I know how to blow models up, XYZ. I understand how I could do it for myself. It's going to take a lot of time and effort. So that's the main problem I need to solve for at the moment, is how can I get my time back so I can actually put the amount of effort required. Like, if I want to create good YouTube videos, it's going to take me a month to record one YouTube video, and that's going to be like day in, day out. And I know that video would go viral if I put a month's effort into it, but it's like, I don't have a month's effort to put into a video. So it's very difficult. So that's the main thing I'm trying to solve for, which is just me going on a tangent right now. That's the main thing I'm trying to solve for, is how can I get my time back so I can focus everything I've learned and put that into my personal brand. Because that's the other thing as well. Like, when you're learning this content game, you want to be maximizing on all fronts. Not only should you be making the models that you're working with famous, but why not leverage it for yourself and your own personal brand? Because attention is the new oil. And so like, it'll also double down. Like, you're only going to get a benefit from it. Like, I have a lot of models approaching me just because of the brand that I've built. And I don't have a big brand by any means, but it's something, and that's something that I would also recommend. But again, it is a different kettle of fish. It's kind of different blowing up in the business entrepreneur niche in comparison to this influencer girl niche. And a big part of that is that beauty is one of like the most overlooked aspects. Like a beautiful girl, like a really beautiful girl, like someone that people in society desire, that desirability alone is sometimes enough to have a girl go viral. Like you'll see insanely attractive girls or girls with insanely like crazy body parts that maybe don't even have a clue how to create content, but just them being them is like a natural advantage for them to go viral, because men are just like, they're just super attracted to it, and so it's super engaging. It captures our attention. And so when it's on the other hand, women are not kind of the same when it comes to guys, and guys are not the same when it comes to guys. So it's definitely harder, which is why as well we've stuck to working with solely women creators. We've never worked with a male creator, just because it is a lot more difficult and it takes a lot more effort. You've got to be a lot more clever and put a lot more time into the content side of things as well.
Yeah, I think like if you take anything away for that, like when you're watching here, take anything away for that. So Dylan is running an 8-figure agency and cannot make content for himself. It's no time.
Yeah.
That tells you the amount of effort that it is necessary to do this in your agency for your clients. And I'm actually facing the exact same problem. What Dylan's been encouraging me, man, get a YouTube channel, go and do some proper content, start getting your IG up. And I'm like, yeah, mate, I'm going to do it. And then I go away and I'm like, oh man, I've got about 800 things to do before I can actually do that. So I'm in the same place where I'm trying to really prioritize, because I want to share information, right? I want to get this information out and into communities that are actually going to benefit from it. Because this is how I see it, right? If you all follow this advice that we're giving you today, and as we go through the next bit of the process, you understand, like, sort of putting the things together, and we're going to talk about how you get the model ready and stuff like that. But like, if you take that advice on and all of you create one influencer, right, the industry is better as a whole. It's better for me, it's better for Dylan, it's better for you, and it's better for your clients. Because if the standard of quality in the content space goes up, right, then it's a more competitive market and it's a much better place for everyone to be involved in. We currently were drowning in places where, she's got 500 reel accounts and you're just seeing the same reel all the time with 10 views on it. We need to break that whole consensus in the industry, basically. It's a bit of a lofty ambition for this video, I suppose, mate. But like, that's what I see here.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a lot. Like it's almost a separate business in itself. Like as an agency, like you kind of have the chatting side of things, which is a lot. And then you have like all the other in between stuff, client relations, onboarding, sales, like all these little things in between. But then like the main focus then is like the content side of things, which is like you are like the best agencies that I speak to are pretty much organic marketing agencies. Like they're just really good at organic marketing, and they've just made tons of influencers over the years. And once you've made influencers and you've made famous people, guess what? You kind of have a monopoly, because you can just cross collaborate and make more famous influencers and give them more of a boost, and you can get them to collab on good content ideas together. And so like you have like a monopoly. Like if you just look at Jack Doherty as an example, like perfect example, like literally you can just create these new influencers because he has so many influencers and they all just cross pollinate. And so that's why, like, it's not just like I would genuinely, like if I was to start my agency again, I would sign one model and I would pour everything into making that model. I would maybe go through 10 models to find the right one. But once I found the one, I would pour everything into it, and I would work with her on a daily basis, put all my effort and energy into it. I would teach her how to think about content, how to create content. I would create content with her together. I'm not talking sexual, explicit content. I'm talking about the actual organic marketing side of things. And I would just pour into her and focus on getting her to, becoming famous. And once I've got one, then I'll find another perfect candidate and I'll just do the same again. Then I'll find another perfect candidate, do the same again. Now I've got 3 famous creators. Now it's a lot easier for me. I've done all the hard work. Maybe it's taken a year and a half. Maybe it's taken 2 years to get 3 famous creators. Once I've got them, now it's a lot easier, because now I can just start to bring on creators. And then the 3 famous girls I've got, throw her into the mix, and she's going to blow up fast. And now I can just keep rinsing and repeating that process. And that's how you end up scaling really fast and making a ton of money in the industry. But yeah, let's just get into how all this actually works, right? We're talking all this stuff, but let's how does this actually work? What is the fundamentals? What is the keys? And let's just go into hooks and retention, right? Now, hooks and retention is the most important part of content now, right? The biggest thing when it comes to hooks and retention is they kind of go hand in hand, and they're both very important. Now, if we look at long form as the example, right? If we look at long form content, then in long form, your title and thumbnail are viewed as the most important, right? Because if someone doesn't click on your video, then, well, they won't watch it, right? But in short form, we lose two very important things. We lose the thumbnail and we lose the title. So what does that mean? Your hook becomes the title and the thumbnail of your short form content. And what does that really mean? Your hook is the most important part of every short form video. If you want people to actually watch it. So what makes a good hook, right? Again, like you could have the most insane video, you could have insanely good retention, but if the hook isn't good or if the thumbnail and title isn't good, then no one's going to watch it to even know that the retention on the video is good, right? So you need that. That's the most important part. And a good hook can actually hook people towards the end, can hook them until the end of the video, right? Now, I've got a couple of examples. I don't know if these are going to load up tidy, but we'll see what happens. So using the word you, right? We've kind of talked about this in the essential frameworks, right? Using the word you, right? Now, this works really well. And if we look at some examples of this, and I'm just looking at general influencer content to give you guys an understanding of what the fuck is this? Bro, I did not pull this video up.
And this, right, this is what happens when you film in an unscripted fashion.
Yeah.
Right? This is what happens. So
that is not pulling up for some reason. That's not even the video I had there, which doesn't make sense.
I'll give you an example though. I can actually create an example for you off the cuff, right? I seen an advert today, right? And it actually falls into that negative hook situation as well, right? So when Dylan was mentioning shoot the table earlier, right? Let's see if we can get it to work. But I'll give you an example because I got hooked by this earlier. Now I didn't buy the product, but like I seen what they were doing, and actually because of my sort of broad study of content, I was like, oh yeah, I like this. So I seen an advert for a particular food product, and they were basically saying, right, so 3 reasons why you don't want to buy this product. It's so easy to make that you can't procrastinate about not making it. It tastes so good that you won't want to eat anything else. And I can't remember the last one now, but it was so good that I watched it to the end. I think the last one was like, oh, that was it. It's so cheap that it costs less than a cup of coffee. So you can't procrastinate about not making it, which means you're not wasting time. It's cheap, so you can afford it. And it's super easy to do. And it tastes great. Like 3 reasons. It's absolutely terrible. Like blah, blah, blah. And so the negative hook with all the positive reinforcements on, I was absolutely hooked by it. I watched the whole ad. It was like a 35-second ad. I went, why am I watching this? I'm not going to buy this, but why? Because I got played. I got played by the content game. So, and they used you. They attacked me. They verbally attacked me. They were like, you are not going to buy this. 3 reasons why you are not going to. It's so easy that you can make it and not procrastinate. It's so easy that you're going to love it. Like, it tastes so good that you're not going to want to eat the stuff that you normally eat. Like, constantly using the word you, constantly attacking me with negative hooks, and not just one negative hook, but repeated hooks all the way through the video. Absolutely phenomenal advert. And I was like, all of those principles at play, all of those principles.
Yeah. And for some reason, none of these TikToks will load for some reason. None of the links. I don't know if the links work for you, but they clearly like links, but they're just not actually taking me anyway. I don't know why it's doing that.
They're taking me to the homepage, unfortunately, mate. But I've given you an example, right? And actually, we can leave the links in the comments and stuff so people can get a view. Like what we'll do is we'll try and link the videos into the comments so you can get a view of what we're talking about. But that example I've just given you there is pretty much on the money. Like using you and then combining it with the negative hook and then combining it with the price as well. Like all those factors were sort of described from the chart that Dylan showed you before. It was using,
Yeah.
you know, those core things. It was educating me and it was triggering me. And then it had multiple hooks and it was targeting me specifically with the correct, like, honestly, it was a marketing masterclass, man. Like, I'll send you the ad later, right? And you can be like, oh, bro.
So I've got a few examples of hooks here, but for some reason the TikToks are not working whatsoever. It doesn't even take me to the TikTok link anymore. I've tried everything. We've literally just tried to fix it for the last 20 minutes. I literally probably spent 2 hours finding specific examples of specific videos so you guys could like learn visually from like what are the good hooks, and none of them are working. So that's great. So we'll just have to like wing this. Now, a few examples, right? People say using the word you, right? Now I had some examples there, and there's probably videos where it's like, have you ever seen this? Or you won't believe this happened, right? Stuff like that, right? Using the word you. We talked about it in the essential social media frameworks, right? Second person language, you, your, yours, our, right? It makes people feel included, makes people feel like you're talking directly about them, which is going to capture more attention, right? Now, this next one allows you to relate to your audience, you. So like when you use the word you, that allows you to relate to your audience. None of these videos are going to work, but that just allows the audience to relate with you, right? Now, I can't see these examples, so I don't even know what's going on. But the next thing, right, is employing the everybody trick, right? This allows your audience to relate to you, right? Employing the everybody trick. So everybody has that one friend that does this, that, right? Like those types of hooks makes the viewer feel related. It allows you to relate to them. You relate everyone. It creates that familiarity, right? By employing the everybody trick. So when you say everybody does this one thing or whatever it is, right? That just makes the viewer be like, wait, what is it that everybody does? Or everybody has those kind of things, right? Does any other couple have this problem, right? Now, that's not directly saying the word everybody, but it's obviously alluding that does any other couple. It's still including everybody. It's including any other couples, right? So all the couples watching that is going to relate, right? So now, why do these actually work, right? Why does everybody has a, or does any other couple have this? Why do these examples work, right? You promote intrigue and questions in someone's head that they need to answer. And it's the same with good thumbnails. It's the same with good titles, right? You've probably done it yourself, and I consciously catch myself doing this now because I understand it. When I'm looking through YouTube and scrolling, there's certain videos and thumbnails and titles that will pop up that I will be having an internal dialogue in my own head, and it'll make me want to click it. I'll be like, wait, like the good thumbnail and title promotes that, like it piques that curiosity, right? And so it promotes intrigue and questions in someone's head that they need to answer. And the only way you're going to find that answer is by watching the rest of the video, right? Or by clicking the video. And so that's key. That's with these types of hooks, that's how you actually can hook people until the end of the video, right? You know, if you've got a good storytelling video and the answers at the end and you have a good hook, everybody has does any other couple have this, or using the you trick, right? That's going to promote curiosity and intrigue, and it's going to people are going to start asking questions in their own head that they need to answer, right? Secondly, you give the audience an emotion, right? It makes them feel something, sparks the curiosity. Maybe it makes them feel included. Maybe it makes them feel like annoyed or frustrated. There's tons of different things, but it piques emotion, right? And so like you can think about all these different things, like it could be universally understood, right? Now, the next thing is going to be you create a desire the audience didn't know they had. Kind of like piquing curiosity, right? You're creating a desire the audience didn't know they had. So a good hook can do that. You know, they're scrolling, scroll stopper. Everybody has and you're like, whoa, wait. Like everybody has a what? And then you go into the story and boom, 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 right? And then number 4, you have to establish some sort of value in the first second to keep the viewer's attention. Now, value doesn't have to be like, you know, it does, when people think of value, people think like giving some type of value in the sense of like a business tip or wherever, right? That's not necessarily what it means, right? Value can be anything, depending on the creator, depending on the niche, right? It can be escapism, entertainment, and all, like there's tons of ways to create value, right? And so you can create value by escapism, by entertaining people, and that is value in itself, right? They're getting value for their time because they're entertained as they're watching the video, right? And so that's also why it works, right? And so having these things in a hook make a massive difference to how your content's going to perform. And you don't have to just have talking hooks, right? There's things like visual hooks, and there's tons of ways you can create visual hooks as well, right? Which we'll talk about. Visual hooks are more like thumbnail based, right? You know, thinking of it like how a thumbnail catches attention, that's how a visual hook kind of works, right? And you can almost apply the thumbnail and title principle on shorts, like on short form videos, by actually having like an on-screen caption, and the framing of the first frame needs to be something good or interesting, right? Now, is that the only way to do it? Is everybody is that the only way to have good hooks? Is that the only way to have good hooks? No, right? Of course not. Social hacking and trend jacking is another one, right? Social hacking. This is a really good video, but it's not going to work. It was a guy explaining how social hacking works while social hacking people, and what that means is leveraging maybe what's trending, right? You see it in the business niche all the time. And the reason I'm saying the business niche is because probably a lot of you guys or FM agency owners are probably in that niche. And so you see people almost stealing other people's identities or face for clout, right? I'll see if I can literally find a perfect example while we're on this stream right now. I know someone that does it all the time, and it's a really good way to grow your following, right? And so if we look at this video, right, this is an example of social hacking. You know, he's used Jordan Welsh, Alex Mosey, E-Man, right? And some people will say like gurus like E-Man Gadsby don't want you to know this one thing, right? That's what social hacking is. You're using someone else's likeness, you're using someone else's audience, and you're almost stealing their audience from you. Because if you're a big fan of E-Man, for example, right, then he's going to pique your interest. He's going to capture your attention. You're going to be like, what's this guy saying about E-Man, right? So that's what social hacking is, right? Is using trending people and stealing sort of their likeness. Now, another one example of this is, you know, more direct social hacking. This is the only link that's working. Mr. Beast locked me in a freezer, right? He's using Mr. Beast straight away. And obviously Mr. Beast is a crazy big influence. And so he can almost steal Mr. Beast's audience by saying, Mr. Beast locked me in a freezer, right? He's social hacking / trend jacking, right? But wait, there's another piece, right? Here's the goal of hooks that nobody talks about. You want to hook your audience until the end of the video, right? I slightly touched on this earlier, but most people think that your hook is only at the beginning of the video. But there can actually be multiple hooks in a video to carry your audience through the story. So what are different hooks in a video, right? So when you create hooks, like how can you hook yourself? How can you hook someone to the end of the video? Well, if you say everybody has and then you go into the story and blah, 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 and you want to find out what everybody has, or does any other couple have this problem? And then maybe you tell a little bit of story, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of the video, get to the point. They're going to be hooked until they find the answer, right? Because you've promoted intrigue in their head, and they're asking themselves questions in their own head that they need to find the answer to. So when you use a hook like this, does any other couple have this problem? And you don't get to the point straight away, and you maybe story tell a bit, then you're going to keep retention purely because this question's unanswered. And until they get that answer, they're not going to click off the video, right? And so, you know, hooks are not just something you put at the start of the video. A good hook is actually something that can carry the audience until the end of the video, and they can actually be multiple hooks in a video and throughout the video, right? So your hook that gets your audience's attention at the very beginning of the video, right? This is different hooks in a video, right? So that's one type of hook. Your hook that gets attention at the very beginning of the video. Now, number two is your hook that keeps the audience's attention until the end of the video, right? Example of a hook that isn't at the start of a video. Irish strangers that ride these and show them that I don't need them. And the hook hooks you until the end because you want to see who he races, and if he wins, right? So let's look at this example, right? And if you look as well, right? If we look at the start of this video, let me see if I can refresh, right? This is very thumbnaily. Like you can see, like he's almost positioned as like a thumbnail, and he's got a caption. This is an auto walk. This is an auto walk, right? Not really like an insanely good hook. Like you're just like, what is this guy on about? But it's universally understood, right? And so he's touched on that essential framework because everyone knows what these things are. Everyone knows what this thing is in the airport. I didn't necessarily know it was called an auto walk. That's pretty interesting, but it's a universally understood concept. So he's not necessarily using a actual hook here with his voice, but he's almost got a visual hook because it's universally understood. Everyone knows what this is, and he's stood there and he's thinking, "What's this guy about to do?" And the actual hook comes in after the intro, right? So that's where the actual first hook comes in. I race strangers to prove that I don't need these. And so you're thinking at this point, he races strangers. Wait, is he going to race a stranger in this video? Like, I need to see who wins that race, right? And
I
now he's
love this.
clearly creating story around such a simple concept, right? And so this is the elite level of creating content. And so like creating a story around something like this, he started the video off with a universally understood theme. Everyone knows what that thing is. Maybe you didn't know it was called an auto walk. So that keeps you for a bit. You're like, okay, I understand this. I race strangers is the hook. You want to see who wins. And now he's telling a story which keeps you intrigued. He's telling him the top speed 6.2 miles an hour. And so you're waiting to see like what happens, right? So now he's rehooked you again. Oh, is he going to win this? Right? Like his car started cramping. Is he going to win this? And even though we know this is like kind of BS, we're still intrigued to see who wins, right? Right, and that you can see like you can just see the very thumbnail-esque, right? And so that's like a really good example of how you don't have to just have a hook at the start of the video, but how the first hook comes in, the second hook comes in, and it keeps you through the entire video. And yeah, he does have a hook at the start of the video. It's just not a hook that he's actually speaking, right? It's just a universally understood theme with the auto walk, right? Now, hook at the start of the video using the comment technique as a hook for the start of the video. So this is a good one you can use as well, right? Like if people are commenting and there's funny comments and stuff like that, like these guys have an entire channel like based on their comments, right? And that's a good way to get your community involved. So that could be one of the verticals, right? One of the verticals that you could be testing, which we'll get into in a bit, could be comment replies because that gets your community involved, right? And so like if we look at this video as an example, so that's a really good hook, right? They're replying to their comments, and it's also a very interesting concept, right? So you need to pick the right comments for this to work. But these guys like pretty much have one of the main verticals is just doing this side of thing, right? And so like everyone knows what to expect now, and they've delivered on that hook straight away, right? And so that's the clear thing there. Let me delete these so my laptop doesn't lag, right? Now that's the hook there, right? And then if we look at this one as well, Isaiah Photo, really good creator. He creates amazing hooks right at the start of his video and also has multiple hooks throughout his video, right? So if we look at this piece of content, it didn't take me to an exact piece of content, but I guess we could probably just pull up a random one. What's got good views? So this is the cheapest. This is the cheapest cruise on the planet. A lot of people maybe want to find that out. It's only $45. That's like almost another hook. You won't believe what $45 gets you. That's like another hook. Like for you, I'm about to find out. That's literally like another hook again. See how he's creating multiple hooks, multiple but believe me, it gets worse, right? You're thinking like, how could it get worse? Like, what's going on? Like, and it just keeps your attention throughout the entire video because he's using multiple hooks, right? And now I wanted to use like broad content examples. I did have a lot of like OnlyFans kind of not OnlyFans, but like girl based like influencer kind of trends, like Anna Paul style stuff, but none of these TikTok links are working. So if I can get them to work, I'll maybe make the doc so you guys can go and look at it yourself. But these are good examples just to give you like a broad, the point of this first part is just to give you a broad understanding of what good content is, right? Now, the next part is retention, right? Now, retention is also super important because you could have an insanely good hook, but if the rest of the videos is dog shit, like, I mean, really, it just falls off a cliff after the hook, then people are going to click off and your video is not going to do well, right? Because the aim of these platforms is to keep you on their platform for as long as possible, right? Now, before I do go into retention, Steve, is there anything that you wanted to speak about in specifically, or should I continue going on hooks?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I like I do like one example that I do in the everybody the everybody strategy, which is where I incite an additional the FOMO strategy on top of it. So like you see loads of these pieces of content where like somebody's asking, oh, everybody's doing this, so why are you not? So if I take a business niche for example, it could be like, oh, everybody's moved over to OFM, so why are you still doing drop shipping? And what you're doing is you are creating a problem for them that they did not know they had, and then inciting the fear that they're being left behind by society, which works every single time. It really it hits you right in the core, man, especially if it's applicable to you as an individual. Basically, if that lands on your doorstep and it's applicable to you on a personal level, it will hook you, guaranteed, all the way to the end. You're 100.
Yeah.
Dylan's about to come onto attention, but you are getting 100% retained on that video.
Especially if you link that with a universally understood theme that everyone, like in society, conceptually understands. Like everyone knows what those things in the airport are, like at least the majority of people. And so like it's an interesting concept. Yeah, that's some solid insight. So retention, right? Now retention super important as well. And so what is retention, right? The fact of keeping something in one's memory, right? Or the continued possession, use, or control of something. That's the actual definition, right? The fact of keeping something in one's memory, the children's retention of facts, the action of absorbing and continuing to hold substance. These are all different definitions of retention, right? Example, the soil's retention of moisture, right? You're retaining, you're keeping them attached, you're keeping them locked in, right? Now, I like to think think of retention as the moment of excitement / tension that's going to come next. It's like that holding your breath moment, right? You're waiting for it. Like, if we go back to Isaiah Photo's video, right? Like when he says, how can this get any worse? You're thinking, wait, how can it get any worse? Like, what's going on? It's like there's tension building up, right? Good storytellers, good content creators know how to build tension and excitement. And that's why retention and hooks are super key, right? So how retention works on short form platforms. With short form content, you choose to sit down and watch for a few minutes, right? And it removes the choice of what content to watch next. It's constant, right? You have the removal of choice fatigue, right? So what do I mean by that? What does that mean? Well, if you look at it like this, right? If you go and sit down to watch Netflix, you know, when you put Netflix on, you sit down on the sofa, you're probably going to be there for maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, right? So you can go and watch something, and Netflix films don't have to have all these crazy retention hacks and this and that, right? Because it's less hyper edited, and they can just tell good stories, and you're going to sit there because you've committed. Whereas TikTok is everyone's fighting for your attention, right? Because it's very fast. There's no choice fatigue. You don't know what's going to be next, right? The same with Reels, right? And so it removes choice fatigue, which is why the hook and retention needs to play that key part, and why good hooks will retain people throughout the entire video, right? Which is why, like I said, the hook is the most important part. And so it's the same with a movie, right? If you go and sit in a movie, you literally have no choice but you can't even get up. You can't even get distracted. Like, even if the movie is absolutely terrible, you're there now, so you're just going to watch it. Whereas if a TikTok's absolutely terrible, guess what? You're going to scroll, right? And so like you need to think of it like that, right? Now, storytelling is super key. And so like how do you hook people with storytelling on shorts in particular, right? Now, shorts does really well. Like shorts is a really untapped niche in terms of like this OnlyFans space. And we've got a couple of creators on shorts that are absolutely crushing it. But you've got to be able to tell good stories, right? And that shorts is a very different platform from TikTok and Reels. So you can post kind of the similar sort of stuff on TikTok and Reels, and you can also post stuff that worked on shorts into Reels and TikTok, and it can do well. But you need to be creative. If you want to do shorts, you need to be creating short specific content. All this bippity boop shit that people do and all the copied trends is not going to work on shorts, right? Shorts, the best thing to do on shorts is having really good storytelling, right? And that's going to be key. So you need a scroll stopping. You need a scroll stopping for the first 0.5 seconds, right? So the first 0.5 seconds, you need to have a scroll stopper there, right? Once you have the viewer hook, you now have to play the retention game. And the aim is to achieve 98% plus retention on a video for it to go viral on shorts, right? You can get 100% retention on YouTube shorts, right? And all the top creators get 100% plus retention. Now, storytelling and challenges are the easiest and most effective way to do this, and use some examples of these challenges / storytelling videos, right? If we just look at this girl is like a perfect style of shorts creator. And so like that is just a basic example of storytelling and how it works so well on shorts. And then you've also got like these challenges and the public interview side of stuff, right? But as you can see, the storytelling stuff does so good on shorts in comparison to anyone else. Jenny is another person that does it really well. Let me see if I can find who. Jenny Hoyers. This girl also is probably arguably the best, one of the best short story creators, storytellers like on the entire app. And so like, if we look at this, if we actually, it's very like sort of kid, like childish sort of like cringy content, but it works really well on shorts. And so if you have like a beautiful like girl and you do like, that girl I just showed you, by the way, is an OnlyFans creator, and she makes a ton of fucking money. If we go back, this girl's an OnlyFans creator, right? And so like, I know you're curious, and she prints money. Like she literally prints money. She has the craziest fucking cars, the craziest houses, and it's all from shorts. She has 3.8 million subs, right? And so like study this type of person if you want to blow up on shorts. Like these are your cars, right? Like it's pretty insane. And so like storytelling is insane and can work really well. Like even stuff like this works really well. You can obviously like there's tension here, right? Like you can see like you obviously understand, she does. You're thinking, oh, she's a porn star and OnlyFans girl, right? See, like it's clearly obviously staged, but they obviously do really well, right? And so like that's key. And then also call to actions on shorts can do well as well, like subscribe for more, follow for more, stuff like that can actually do well on shorts. So that's something you can test. Sometimes retention will tank, but if you fit her in like right at the end, and you do it in like a subtle way, like it can be really good. Now that's understanding like content at a general level of just like a broad horizon of like what good content is, what good content looks like. And so if you haven't been putting that much effort into content, then this is probably like I said, content is a science. So if you haven't been thinking of content this way, well, you better switch up your game and start thinking more about content. But now we're going to actually get into the meat of the video. We're actually going to get into like how we actually think about this content, how it should look like what the partnership aspect should look like when it comes to making content with your models, and all this other fun stuff, the actual the frameworks, the tracking, the roadmaps. And so, Steve, is there anything that you want to talk about before that? Anything you wanted to add to that retention section?
No, I'm actually just sort of hyped to get stuck into this next section because it's like the bread and butter of my life. Like, if the bit that I understand, if I'm being honest, the bit that I fundamentally understand most is this next section, because like I've really my background before I worked in this industry was very much the next part of this video. So I was like transferring it onto a one-to-one basis and making it a bit of content creator rather than making it a bit like improving a business and assessing a business and stuff. Like I could do this bit super fast. I learned this bit very quickly, but learning how to actually make the content and stuff, all the stuff you've just gone through about understanding how to actually capture attention, because as we know, attention is the most valuable commodity, right? It's just, that's the hard part to learn, or it was the hard part to learn for me. The good news is the next part we're going to go into is actually quite mechanical. So whenever if you're watching it, you're like, oh, I'm looking for a mechanical answer, you're about to get a reasonably mechanical answer for how do you actually set this up. Making content is hard. I'm not going to deny that. But getting ready with someone to do it, there is a formula to it. There is a mechanical method. And Dylan's got some cracking assets that we're going to share with you towards the end as well. Like you may be seeing them flashing up on the document there. Like we've got like a vertical tracker, we've got a 6-week roadmap, we've got a work ethic document as well. But we're going to tear right into that now, and we'll share those sort of documents with you as we go through, because they're critical factors and critical tools inside the sort of, I call it the qualities and the qualities and traits assessment, basically, like the model build out assessment. And these tools will help you work in that space, and we'll share them with you as we go forward. But yeah, I'm hyped for this next section because I love it personally.
Yeah, I think I think that we want to almost like solve for everything in this next section, and so I think one of the biggest issues people would probably face, which is why we thought we almost did like a pre-mortem of before we recorded this, thinking like, what's everything we could solve for? Like, how could we explain content to an alien and they'd understand it? And so like what we thought about was the work ethic problem, right? A lot of people will say like, oh yeah, we really struggle. Like our model would never take this content this serious. So we are too lazy, like we can't be bothered to even take it this seriously. Wherever the issues is, like the work ethic issue, whether it's yourself, whether it's your model, whether it's a mixture of both, like work ethic is not as big as an issue as everyone makes it out to be. It's usually just down to poor communication, poor leadership, like no lack of vision on the model's end, and you almost running a dictatorship and not a partnership. And so that's something that we're going to really dive into, because you're not going to be able to create really good content unless you have a good relationship and unless that work ethic problem is solved, because it takes a ton of effort to make good content. And so you need good work ethic, and you need to be willing to put effort into a video that inevitably flops. And so like you need to have that solved, and we're going to talk about how we actually solve for that in this next part. And so the first thing that I actually want to touch on, I think we should touch on work ethic first.
No, I think let's flip and reverse it. Let's talk about let's talk about how you control work ethic, right? Because I think that work ethic is tied inherently to stuff you want to do, right? It is tied inherently to stuff that you're interested in. So for me, isolating that with a model, which is what the chunk of what the main thrust of the section is about, isolating stuff that the model can associate with, that the client can become attached to, actually solves for X in the work ethic position. Like, so you said at the start, Dylan, right? If I just give you 50 trends to copy you see that as work. You're like,
Yep.
Jesus Christ, I have 50 videos to film. I can't, I
Mhm.
don't want to do this, because then I need to go and film content for OF as well, and then I need to go shopping, I need to clean my house. Like, it's just work, right? But
Mhm.
if you solve for X in this sense and discover what content actually fits the model, what fits our personality, what fits our particular assets, and I don't mean physical assets always, I mean like our particular skills or qualities and like our talents, etc. If you solve the content around those factors, right, you will ultimately be able to create enjoyable content. You're creating content still for the viewer, it's still important for the viewer, and it's for them. But because you enjoy making it, it actually solves a lot of that work ethic. So if you're an agency, and don't use the word dictatorship there, if you're an agency and you're just telling the model to make 50 pieces of content every day so you can churn it out on repeat, that's why you think your model's lazy. Oh, my
Mhm.
model's so lazy, she won't make content. She just doesn't want to make the content.
Yep.
Like, if you don't mind,
Yep.
what I'll do is I'll tear through this section, right, and I'll sort of go through my mind, and we'll loop in and see, and you can chuck your thoughts in. But right, so how we do this, right? So we literally look at the model as a human being. She's not a tool for making revenue, right? She's not a product generator. She is a human being, because that's what influencers are, right? People buy people first. The first thing they do. I'm skipping to the end of that, my speech here, but people buy people, right? So the very first thing you need to do is break down the model's core qualities and traits. What are they like, and what do they like? Do they have a particular affinity to a community or brand? Like, you're trying to ultimately determine their core brand as a human being, right? So mine and Dylan's core brands are very different. He likes very different stuff to me, and that's okay. That makes us different, and that also makes us it makes us better for content, because we're not going to make the
Mhm.
same thing. We're going to make very
Mhm.
different content, and that's that's what it's about. And understanding those values on a human level is the key to unlocking every single human being's potential as a personal brand, as an influencer. If you are, it sounds ridiculous, and it sounds like so sort of, so in trend to say, but if you're your most authentic and based self effectively, you will have a greater chance of success than you will copying content that's in the market, right? So we what we do is we look at the model and try to isolate what her core brand as a human is, and then we start to attack the more superficial elements, right? So we understand what sells, right? Dylan's touched on this all the way through the video. So if a model's got insane physical assets in specific locations, right, that can be sold, and you can leverage it in making content. You can apply a camera focus on a specific area of the body, on her face, on her eyes. You can focus on other traits as well, attributes, talent, skills. Did she have a particular thing that she's good at? Talents and skills, very different. Skills are developed, talents are natural, right? So, for example, I've seen influencers develop. One of my favorite influencers right now, not even an OnlyFans creator, is just a girl who skips. She does videos to music and she skips, and she is so good at what she does that it hooks me every time. I've never approached her, I've never messaged her like, oh, you could make more money on her. I've never done that. She's just so good at what she does that I engage with that content. And then but I've seen them do also, I've seen them shooting hoops. I've seen people do backflips and become famous. Like, there's so much stuff you can do that is unique to you because your personality shines through that. So there are loads of people that can do a backflip, but if you've got a raw personality that people engage with, that people want to buy into, then you can actually become a brand as a result of that relatively simple skill, quite frankly. Like, I can't do a backflip, but like a relatively simple thing, doing a backflip on camera, but your personality is what's basically drawn through, right? Those talents and skills are what make you an attractive proposition, is what I'm trying to say. And it allows you to engage with physical appearance, because that's what everybody is about. People on a human level, they love physical appearance. It's what's in their brain, right? And then those secondary attributes basically are tying through. And you can do it with loads of other things, attributes. When I mean that, I mean, like, for example, does the person wear glasses? Do they have a specific hair color? Do they wear a specific brand of clothes? Or do they drive a specific car? Do they have a specific type of voice? And you've done like ASMR. It's all about niching, basically, and those more drawn down attributes. But it's critical to look at that holistically. Everything I've just gone over. So thinking about their core brand as a person, thinking about their physical attributes, thinking about their talents, their skills, their other attributes, those secondary soft things that they have. You need to boil all of those together. It's a recipe for greatness, right? You need to take the bits that are excellent, put it all into the pot, mix it up, and that is how you turn a human being into an attention-grabbing business asset. It's how you turn someone into a business together in a partnership, right? Am I on the right track, Dylan? Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
So from there, right, you've got the idea, you know roughly what you want to do, you know what attributes, what talents, what's associated with the model, right? You know what the model likes. You've already solved for X. Maybe though the model is shy, right? Maybe the client doesn't want to do specific stuff. And this is where you basically, and I love this phrase, you fashion a persona, right? You're playing a character to play the game, right? You don't have to be your truest real self on the internet. Maybe there are like qualities that you have that other people just don't like, right? You don't want to accentuate those online. So you build a persona around about the most attractive parts of the client in order to actually drive them forward, right? Now, some models might think they're boring and that people won't be interested in them. So just change. Become the thing that people want and do the thing they're going to like, and you will ultimately progress in the content business as long as you follow the rules that we've sort of laid out before. Make sure you're hooking properly. Make sure you're triggering people in the right way to get them interested, and then be the personality that drives that. And if the persona is closely rooted to the real personality, but we enhance those attractive character elements from a marketing perspective, do the ones we don't want to come out, then you're going to succeed. Now, it is difficult. I won't lie. It's difficult to change your personality for the camera, but actors do it all the time, and everyone can act to a degree. I'm not telling you don't need to have an Oscar-winning performance or anything here, but you need to be able to get into character, right, and deliver in character. And that outward personality, the public face, it's everything. Personal brand is public facing, right? Your personal brand and you as a person are totally different entities. They're joined and they have similarities, but they are different entities at the end of the day. So what you need to do is work with your client to fashion that character, the one that fits them best, and then give them time to learn that character, work with them to learn that character. And they need to play that character with everything they have. Because if they can commit to that character, commit to that persona, commit to the brand that they want to build, commit to the things that they're going to actually use, their talents, their assets, and actually drive those forward, you are well on the road to victory. You basically can't lose. It's an attrition thing. If you do everything I've just said there, combined with the stuff that Dylan talked about earlier, over time, you will win. You cannot lose. It's statistically impossible. I think. Anyway, I'm assuming you're going to agree with me. I hope you are. But
Yeah. No, I agree. I think as well, like a lot of people think about everything from the wrong frame of mind. Kind of like how I said that the content should always be framed for the viewer. I think you almost need to stop focusing on how we can make money from the models and put more attention on the actual service delivery for the models, and like really pour into them and make it a partnership and a collaborative effort. And like I said, less like a dictatorship. And so, yeah, like rather than just send in trends, like actually, the rather than you don't have to go all out straight away. You can break it in, but rather than just send in trends, maybe start explaining why you actually sent the trends, what the thought process was behind it. Start teaching them, start dripping on them, like to get them and the understanding. But like the goal is that we should be turning them into content creators. Not OnlyFans models. Like we should be turning them into content creators, be turning them into influencers, and letting them understand the process and giving them also more creative input as they start to understand the process, and so they can actually be their authentic self. And when ideas come to them in their real life, maybe they have some really good ideas. Maybe you have an insanely creative individual whose personality would be like electric on camera, but you never let it come out of her because you're always just like, do these vanilla trends, do these risky trends, and like she's just always doing that stuff, and because that's what she thinks is going to work, and that's how you get stuck. Like there's tons of agencies that can, like some agencies get to like maybe 60K a month with a model doing that stuff. And usually, like, you have to have a decent looking girl to be copying and getting to that level. But so many agencies get stuck at 60K a month. And it's always like one of two issues. Either their chatting's terrible, which can sometimes be the case, but more often than not is like they've just built an OnlyFans girl. And so there's like no room for them to like actually grow into an influencer. They kind of just plateau because it's like there's only like people just get bored of you. Like there's you haven't actually built a core audience that actually love you for you. You just built an audience that are just built on thirst, that just that desire you. And once they get bored and they go and find the next big OnlyFans girl that blows up, you're now in the bin and you have no longevity and you start to decline and start to lose money. And you've like my entire goal is like, right, if a girl is going to commit herself to OnlyFans, which is a big decision, there could be a lot of downwards. There could be a lot of issues in the future that pop up from her. And so like if she's going to commit to OnlyFans and she's going to work with us, I need to make sure she's getting the highest ROI and the highest leverage on making that decision. And so like I don't want her to regret it. And therefore, like, I want to actually give her longevity where if she decides to stop OnlyFans, for example, like Katie Sigmund, she can pivot and but still leverage her content creation and become a content creator and monetize that as well, right? And you also open up multiple revenue streams as well. You don't just make money from OF, but you can make money from other stuff as you become a content creator, brand deals, and you can take percentages of that as well, right? And so there's tons of different ways that you can monetize it. And you're almost having like a organic marketing agency / talent agency at that point, right? And they kind of go hand in hand. And so like, you can start streaming on Twitch and you can start to really build up that personality. And that's like how you create the ultimate leverage is you build an influencer, not an OnlyFans model. So like, that's the biggest takeaway, create influencers, not OnlyFans models. And yeah, when it comes to like the type of content Steve was talking about, when you're looking at like the authentic self, like, if you have a girl that's insanely good looking, she's in insanely good shape and she loves the gym, then one of the verticals that you can, and I'll talk about verticals in a minute, but obviously then if you're getting it to just create like bikini style OF trends, you're missing out on a massive opportunity where you could literally not only have her to make easy content, because she probably goes to the gym every day, so she could create content every day, but she could go live when she's in the gym for X amount of hours. She could also double down on that live and create content. And it doesn't have to be OF based content. Like we've literally got a girl in the gym niche that you wouldn't even know is an OF creator, and she simply just films her workouts. And that's like it, and she does really well because she's obviously got a good body, good physique, and so like it's also easy for her to film, and she's very consistent. And so like integrating content around and into their daily life is also something to consider as well, because it just makes it easier and there's less friction, right? Now, going back into this doc, I think the next thing we're going to talk about is verticals.
Yeah, verticals? We could though. We could verticals are a big section, but you just touched on it, right? If they're doing content that they really love, then, like I said, you've solved for X already. So I'm just gonna go off script because I'm a maniac, right? But like, it's a short piece. But what I do with all my models, and I know Dylan does the exact same thing. I didn't invent this or anything, right? But when you've done the thing we've just described and you've figured out what content they're gonna make, even without the verticals part, right? You don't know the specific things you're going to do exactly yet, but you know roughly what we're going to do now. We know roughly the core brand of the individual. We know roughly what assets we're going to sell. We know roughly how we're going to build and wield that influence. We've got a plan, right? What you just touched on there, Dylan, is hypercritical now. We're looking at other revenue streams. We're looking at, monetizing other channels. We're looking at getting brand deals, etc. And that then I anchor everything to goals. So I anchor with my models and with my clients, I anchor everything on their goals. And I do this in a 2-strand process, right? It's got a Pew matrix, and you can look it up on Google. It's a free thing. It's something that's been around for hundreds of years, right? Pew matrix basically states that if you've got an objective and you score it out of 5, and then the ones with the highest scores go at the top and the ones with low scores go at the bottom. And what I do is I do a double Q matrix. So I have the model score it and I score it as well. And I score it from a business perspective and she scores it from a personal perspective. And we basically figure out, right, so the ones that are ranked highest, because they're going to be some common ground, those are the ones to the top. But I anchor everything to those goals, right? So I have a proper full session. It's not like a 3-minute job where I just say, what are your goals? And I write them down. This takes like an hour and a half. And we think about real goals. When I take on like new clients and I'm like, oh, tell me some of your goals. And they say, I want more money. That's a bad goal, right? Maybe you want more money, but what for? What does it do? Why do you require it? Dylan, you've talked about this in previous videos. It's a point that's hammered into me. Like, you need to know what you want and then why you need enough money to get it. That's critical, right? And I sit down with the model. The model says, well, I want to make this much money to buy a bag because I've always wanted it. Fine. Then I ask, does it serve the business or does it just serve your own gratification? Why do you want the bag? Drilling down, 5 whys analysis, right? Constantly asking questions. Why do you want it though? Well, because like I've always wanted one my whole life and I tie that with being successful. That's a good enough reason, but you need to understand why you actually want to do something, right? So take time, and there is a document for it. Dan's got it up above, like I say, we're going to share it with you, but take time to actually understand the objectives once again at a human level with your client and document them together. And you have to live those objectives as well. You don't just walk away from the call and be like, right, cool, she's got some objectives set. As the manager, if you're managing this client directly, right? And so Dylan, I know you've got people in your agency for this, and I do too. I've got client managers now in my agency, and those client managers look at those goals regularly and ask, are those moving forward? Are we progressing with that? Because it's rooted to the success of the client. And for them to deliver the content, and going into the vertical section in a minute, for them to do that, it has to be rooted and anchored to something. If it's anchored to nothing, then the work ethic will collapse. If it's rooted to something they truly care about, they will work forever, and so will you.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to solve this work ethic at the end of the video. It'll be the last thing that we do. We'll solve this entire work ethic puzzle. My model doesn't work. We'll solve it for you guys at the end of the video and show you how to solve it. And also we'll show you how to solve it for yourself. Maybe you're struggling with work ethic. Maybe you're procrastinating, all this kind of thing. I've got something for you guys at the end of the video to show you how to solve that. And so, yeah, let's get into the next section. Now, verticals, I've got nothing wrote down. I'm winging this part because I understand it deeply. Now, verticals, what are they? Why should you care about verticals? What does it mean, right? So verticals, aka buckets, aka topics. That's pretty much how you can look at it. Topics, right? We do this because we want to figure out, like Stephen just said, right? We're trying to figure out what our model's qualities and traits are, right? And so, like we have here that Stephen just explained, fashion and persona, the physical traits, the talents, the skills, the attributes, the qualities, the traits. We're diving deep into the model psyche. We're diving deep into the model psychology. We're trying to understand who, we're understanding everything about her future vision, all this kind of stuff, right? And so the reason we do that is to figure out, like, right, what type of verticals do we think will fit well with this model? Like, what type of topics do we think we should create content with? And we always like to come up with 5 verticals, right? And so how I like to look at verticals, right? Now, within your channel subject, you should choose 5 video topics, or aka verticals, to produce content around, right? If you produce and post at least 1 video per day, you'll begin noticing patterns of what verticals are trending the most. And at the end of a 4 to 6 week period, which we'll talk about a 6-week content roadmap. But at the end of the 4 to 6 week period of consistent posting, you should see clear leaders and laggers in your video topics. And at this point, you should cut the laggers and double down on the leaders. Use the topics to categorize videos during the brainstorming phase of your media production process. This should be considered a living document and should be revisited often and updated / changed as needed, right? Now, you want to come up with 5 verticals, right? Now, if 5 topic verticals feels too daunting, then try 3. Less is more. And anything above 5 being tested, can kind of be counterproductive, right? Because you're probably not going to produce enough content to give it a fair test over 6 weeks. So the reason we pick specific verticals tailored to a specific creator is because we need data and we need to test. And so like we need to know what works. So if you're just randomly, there's no brand, there's no coherence. If you just randomly send in what's trending topics, trending sounds, you find in a list of like, the sexual OnlyFans trends that you're just copy pasting and telling them all to recreate. There's no structure to that, right? You're just doing it because it's easy to do, and you're either lazy or you don't actually know what we're talking about in this video. And so this is to educate you to do this right thing. And so the reason you want verticals is so you can actually track data and you can almost create viral content whenever you want to create viral content. Because if you find verticals that work, once you have those core verticals, not only will you start to build a core audience that come back specifically for those verticals and relate with those verticals, but you can almost pull a viral video out your ass whenever you want. And that's the key thing, right? Like if you find a vertical that works, like let's just take Anna Paul as the example. Anna Paul's top performing video vertical is the day in the life of voiceover stuff, right? So she knows whenever she has anything interesting to talk about and she does those little day in the life voiceovers or week in the life voiceovers, she knows they're going to bang. They're probably going to fucking clap 10 million views, 20 million views, some even more, right? And so that's one of her core verticals. And you can literally look at Anna Paul because we've studied her massively, and you can look at Anna Paul and you can see that she's actually always bringing in new verticals and testing stuff. And sometimes it flops. And sometimes it does really well. And then usually when it does well, she actually doubles down on them and she'll create more. And that's how she like finds her core verticals. And so she has like few core verticals that work really well for her. And then she's always bringing in new ones after she's tested what works to try and find more. So she can always keep her content fresh, right? So that's going to be key, right? So like even in my own personal brand, a core vertical for me that I know is going to do well in comparison to all my other videos is come up story, right? That's a core vertical I've tested that I know works well. And so, yeah, I should be doing more of that stuff. But again, it's a lot of effort, right? I've got other shit. But 5 verticals, you don't want more than 5 verticals being tested, right? So that's that. Then stay focused, right? Dialing in your verticals should be a dedicated multi-week experiment. Hit it hard, figure it out, then move on. Once you have your verticals defined, you can be more loose with your content, right? Once you have those core verticals defined and you've found out, you can start adding in stuff and experimenting with other content ideas, right? Because now you've got your core foundation of what your brand and what your audience is going to be built on, right? Now, repeat as needed. Dialing in your verticals is a strategy you can always come back to if your content stops working or your media becomes stale. This is a skill set that will ensure that you always have a method to identify and create content that will work no matter how often trends and social platforms change, right? So really take this in. Like this is some high level source right here. This is literally teaching you how to always have content that works and goes viral. You've just got to be willing to put through the test, and you've got to be willing to build that muscle yourself and go through the process. And if you're not willing to, then the more you put off learning organic marketing, the more you put off learning organic influencer marketing, creating content, doing all this stuff we talked about, the longer you put it off, the worse it's going to get, right? And so if you just start today, you're probably going to suck. You might lose a couple models. And it is what it is, right? That's okay. Like it's like a rough draft. You want to look at it as a rough draft. You fail the next time, you make it a bit better. You fail, you make it a bit better. You keep refining till maybe you have a process with one model where you found 3 verticals that works. She's on the path to victory, and now you know, cool. I've figured it out. I can do it, and so I'm good to go. I know I can repeat this process with a model. And with this process, you can, like I said, almost make any model famous, right? And so verticals, right? The 5 verticals, we put our ideas in here, and then we want to finally come up with the 5 that we're going to use. So, different types of verticals could be, you could have a vertical that's based on challenges. You could have a vertical that's based on public style interviews. You could have a vertical that's based on I don't even know off the top of my head. Gym could be a vertical, right? Food reviews. I don't even know. I'm just thinking of random ideas, right? And so like there's tons of different verticals and ideas that you can come up with. And so you want to select verticals that work with your creator. Now, how do you find verticals that can work with your creator? Look at what the top creators are doing. Look at what the top influencers are doing. And especially influencers that are influencery that have OnlyFans, like the girl next door kind of vibe, like you maybe not know they have OnlyFans. Look at what those girls are doing with content, and then throw some ideas. Get in a brainstorming session with your creator, and based on your personality, throw some ideas. Would you enjoy creating this type of content? Like, do you think you could create a lot of this? Would you have fun creating it? And obviously, if she's like, no, like I wouldn't be comfortable creating that. This seems cringy to me. Then that's probably not going to work, right? Even if you think it's going to work, it's probably not going to work. And so that's why a lot of your creators' work ethic as well is an issue, is because you're sending them content that they don't necessarily feel comfortable creating or want to create. And a lot of people are in the mindset of like, get over it. Like, you want to make money, don't you? Like, so you should be doing this and that. But that's not how psychology works. That's not how you're actually going to win them over. They're just going to end up leaving you, or they're just going to end up continuing to have shitty work ethic. You can't force stuff. And so you want to figure out, like we said, like what Stephen touched on, figure out the personality of the girl. You want to figure out like the type of content that she wants to actually create, because you can make any content viral if you understand the frameworks. And so it doesn't matter if she wants to create fucking content about coffee or mugs or pictures or whatever it is. If you understand the fundamentals of content, you can make any type of content interesting. If you look at that Ryan Trahan video, for example, he made a fucking auto walk, a fucking movie. Like, who the fuck thinks of that, right? It's because he just understands content at a deep, deep level. And so, like, I guarantee I could go and give Ryan Trahan this bottle and he'd go and create a fucking interesting story around this bottle, right? And so, like, find the things that your creators enjoy doing. Maybe they do on a day-to-day basis, hobbies, this kind of thing, and it will work if you practice coming up with content ideas and using everything we've talked about today. And so, like, a lot of people will just niche their creators, right? They'll pick, yep, she's going to be good in the yoga niche, and maybe she doesn't even do yoga. She's going to be good in the football niche. She doesn't even understand anything about football, right? It's not going to work. Like, it might work on a small level, but it's like, if you're going to brand a girl in a football niche, she actually needs to be really passionate about football, and she needs to understand football, right? And so, like, that's a key thing. And that could just be one vertical. That doesn't have to be her entire brand, because then you're putting all your eggs in one basket, right? And so that could be another vertical, right? So that's how I look at verticals. Steve, I don't know if you want to touch on anything in terms of verticals, add to anything that I have said. But otherwise, I'll just go into explaining how we actually use these verticals, test them, track them, and do them over a 6-week period.
Yeah, I don't want to go over the same ground, to be honest. The only thing I would say is like, to make my team understand this, right, I had to come up with a bit of a sort of an analogy, right? And I view it as a tree. I call it the content tree rather than verticals. I've got a different name in my business, but like, we call it a tree. And we basically say that, like, trees, the branches that get the light basically are the ones that grow the strongest, right? They're the ones that bloom the brightest. So the light is the attention of the marketplace, basically. And simply put, like, I do a little bit extra. I test sub verticals, so I burn down into specific things inside a vertical and test that as well. And that's something you can do if you want to do that. It's something that works for me. That's not to say it's the right way to do it, but like, yeah, I basically think about it as a tree. You got to constantly be pruning branches off a tree to keep it healthy. Limbs are going to die. You need to get rid of them. Those limbs can regrow as well. Like Dylan said, that you can go back to a vertical that maybe didn't perform at the time, but you want to try it again because you're passionate about it. That's fine to do, but don't get caught up on a dying branch, basically. It's going to snap and you're going to fall off the tree. That's when your model leaves. That's when your model falls off and starts losing money. She goes with another agency and you're in the bin, because you just need to focus on moving towards the light all the time. That's going to keep your content tree healthy, and that's going to keep your model moving forward, which is going to keep everybody profitable in the business. Very straightforward.
Yep. And maybe it wasn't necessarily the vertical that sucked at the time. Maybe it was just you were new to doing this and you didn't really understand how to create good content. And so maybe that's why the verticals flop. Like, if you pick 5 decent verticals that fit with your personality, that you test over the 6-week roadmap, you maybe look at, maybe these verticals have worked for other creators, and maybe you're just tweaking them, steal like an artist kind of vibe, right? if you do that and you test those verticals over a 6-week period and nothing works, it's not the verticals that's the issue. It's the content. Like, it's the content itself sucks. And even if the biggest thing is like, you need a community of people to like, we're very harsh in our community, right? Like, in the sense of like, if your content, like, there's people that will be like, I thought this content was really good, and we will rip it to shreds. Like, this is not good content. Like, we've done masterminds where I will literally get people to send us their content ideas, and we will shred her apart, and we will show them good examples of what they could have done, right? And so, like, that's key, because like a lot of the time people will, like I said, think it's mechanical things. It's the hashtags, it's the sounds, it's the time of day I posted, it's the creator, it's the model herself, she's ugly, and all this kind of stuff, right? It's none of that. The majority of the time, it's the fact that the content just sucks. And that's an harsh reality. And the only way you're going to get better is by practicing and practicing and doing and consulting with people. Like, the only way you can speed up that time and speed up that knowledge gap is consulting with other content experts, right? Networking, providing value, right? And now, so yeah, let's just get into the next part, which is the 6-week roadmap. Now, this is the key element to all of this working, right? You've got your verticals, you've come up with the 5 verticals, you've selected them, you've figured out your model's personality, you know what you're going to start testing. Now we want to test them over a 6-week period, right? And this is exactly how we batch. This is the content creation process. And this can change in terms of the quantity, depending how experienced you are. But this is a really good starting point for any agency to really start to like scale and make their creator famous, right? Now, the rolling 6-week content roadmap, right? Steve, can you see the screen, by the way? Is this all?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this will help you take action with your social media and get results. If you use this roadmap, you'll get more views, more followers. And if you get stuck, if views begin to decline or your growth slows, you can refer back to this roadmap to help you get back on track. Take care to keep your content to your 5 content verticals, right? So you need the verticals for this 6-week roadmap to work, right? Now, how it works, right? No creator can know what's going to perform the best, right? You can think, I've had videos I've done myself, we've had videos we've done with creators, and we're like, oh my God, this is the most genius idea ever. This is going to blow up. This makes so much sense. It doesn't perform. And we're like, what the fuck? Why didn't it perform? No creator knows what's going to perform best, right? And if you're just randomly, this is the thing, right? People are shooting in the dark. They're just hitting and hoping. And yeah, like I said, you can copy people and do lazy style content and send trends, and they can work, and you can have videos that go viral, but it's not consistent. You're not building a core audience. You're not building a consistent brand. You're not creating consistent traffic. 1 month you're up, 1 month you're down. Sometimes a video goes viral, and then you might have 50 videos where you don't have a single video that performs, right? So this eliminates all of that. And yeah, it might be maybe a slower start, but once you've cracked this formula, it's just viral content forever, right? Like, you can always repeat these 6-week roadmaps. And again, if the 6-week roadmap and your content verticals stop performing, just refer back to this, repeat the same process, right? This is like your Bible, right? And I don't see anyone in the industry talk about this, because I truly don't think half of these agencies understand what the fuck they're doing. And so no content creator knows what's going to perform the best. Your content roadmaps helps you categorize your media, so your content, right? Measure its effectiveness and double down on what's working, right? We want to create more videos around topics, aka verticals, that perform and eliminate time wasted on videos and verticals that do not, right? So rather than shooting in the dark, rather than maybe what we hope today these trends we send our creator, and I know how this feels because I used to do it. We compile a list of trends, we send them out to our creator. I hope one of these goes viral because it's gone viral for this girl, so this is why we're sending it, and let's just hope this does well. And it doesn't perform. We're like, fuck, we can't generate traffic. And we kept trying these short, fast methods, the lazy methods, the easy methods, instead of just doing this. And this took 3 years to learn. And fuck me, the amount of money I've spent on consulting with content experts to learn this shit is crazy. And so if no trend or pattern emerges by week 5, revisit how to create a good hook. And any topic can trend, any vertical can trend if presented properly, right? Remember what I said, it's probably not the verticals that suck. If you get to the end of the 6-week roadmap and nothing's worked, there's no patterns, there's no trends that you see in maybe this type of vertical always seems to do better than the others. The content sucks. It's probably just not being presented properly. So go back to the lab and think, how can I present this differently? Look at the data, right? Look at the retention. Interesting. So retention just flatlined straight off the start. The retention just tanked off the start. We had retention for like 5 seconds in, but then it just decided to tank 5 seconds in. What can we do to solve that? What can we do to fix that? Track and look at data, right? What's the average view duration? All these different things, depending on whether you're on shorts or short form. Now, shorts is amazing in terms of data. You can really, like, every video you post on shorts, you can go and analyze the data, and it gives you everything you need to know and everything you need to improve. So you need to become a freak of tracking and data and then improving on the little things, right? So I can go and look at my shorts and be like, the average view duration on this wasn't that good. How can I improve that? Or retention went up, retention flatlined, then retention kind of went up a bit there and then flatlined again. So what did I do there that was good? What made people drop off in this midpoint? But the hook was clearly good because it hooked people at the start and I had a good click-through rate or a good view duration, whatever, right? And so that's going to be key, right? So you want to be looking for those trends and patterns. And if no trends or patterns emerge by week 5 of this roadmap, then it's a content problem. It's not being presented, right? If you have no traction by week 10, it's a production problem, nor a vertical problem, right? So 10 weeks is the ultimate test. If after 10 weeks, none of the verticals are working and there's just no results, not even the littlest bit of like a video maybe getting 200K views, probably a production problem, aka it's not being presented properly, and you need to go back to the drawing board and think, how can we redo these? How can we restructure these? How can I get my creator to film? And the way you do that is by having rapid iteration, and you need to be heavily involved with the content creation process, right? Now, I do want to talk about this. Let me just come back to the camera because I do want to talk about this a bit more specifically, and I think now is a good time to talk about it. So what do I mean by you want to be more involved in the content creation process? Now, either in person, I know tons of people that will go and film skits with their models in person. That can work really well because then you have direct control over what is going on, how you can frame the content, what we're going to do, and you could, go and spend a day a week with your model and go and film content like that, or you can get someone to do it wherever you want to do, right? But easier than that, if you can't do that, easier than that, and potentially more efficient and better, is to have a constant contact line of when they're creating content. So, example, when our models are creating content, we're actively engaged in that content creation process. Sometimes we will literally be on a call while they're creating content. Sometimes they'll just put in the content that they're doing in our WhatsApp chat when they're doing it live, and they'll be like, I've just filmed this. Is this good? Like, is there anything I should change? And then all of our team will be like completely active. Like all of our organic marketing team will be looking at them and be like, I think we could do this instead of the hook. Maybe make this face instead, or slightly tweak your facial expression. And we're looking very in depth. Maybe do this action. Maybe get more of a wide shot in the opening shot. Maybe change this, do this, and like we're rapidly iterating on everything. We're not just sending trends and then waiting for the model to come back and be like, oh, fuck, when's she gonna do the trends? Oh, guys, I've done the trends, and then you look at them and they're like, these are not that good. Could you redo this video? And she's like, I've already stopped recording now. I can't be asked to go and redo this video. It just creates friction for no reason. So while she's in the content creation process, that's when you need to be in the group chat, rapidly iterating. Ask her to send some stuff, see where you can make improvements, right? Because that's what's going to create the best type of content. And as you do that, she'll start to learn as well, and she'll start to understand. And as time goes on, like some of our big models with, millions of followers, they just understand it now, right? And so like they'll still do this practice because it's a good practice, but the majority of the time is very little things that we have to tweak at this point. We just send the ideas and tell them how to create it, maybe the camera angles, the hook, this kind of thing. And they understand and they do it. And most of the time it's pretty fucking good. And that just takes time to almost like train and for them to understand from doing. They're building that content muscle just like you are, right? And so find a creator, just find one model that trusts you and is willing to go through this process with you. And if you can do it, I promise you, it's way better to pour all your effort and energy into making this girl famous than it is to go and focus on 7 models at once that are doing shit or making $2,000 a month or $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month. You'd be way better off playing the long game, not being in it for money, but being in it to become a master at content and an organic marketer, being in the game to learn a skill, being in the game to learn a high income skill that you can take for your own personal brand or for other personal brands or other models you work with in the future, rather than how can I just make the quickest amount of money in the shortest amount of time possible, because that's how you get stuck, or that's how you don't make a lot of money, or that's how you don't have any longevity, right? And so that's super key. Have a longer term mindset. I would rather learn content and fuck it up over and over with a model time and time again and not make any money for 6 months. And then when I start to really understand it, the 7th month, I make my first bit of money. Then it goes up really fast. Then it goes up and I'm stacking. And the people that were trying the black hat methods, or the people that were trying the fast stuff, maybe they're having constant fluctuations. Maybe 1 month they make 10 grand, next month they make 20 grand. And then they go back to 10 grand, and then they go back to 15K, and then they might jump to 30K, and then they go to 10K, and they're just having all these fluctuations. There's just no real, like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but there's just no real sort of like consistency in results. I would rather play the long game and gradually go up. And if you can see, like, you know, the graph I showed at the start with the creator that we were working with, it is a slower process, right? In the sense of like, but once it works really hard, right? So the graph I showed at the start, we was figuring it out for like the first 6 weeks, and we was doing, 4 to 6K a month. Then we went up to 16K a month. Then we went up to 36K. Then we went up to 66K. Then 86. Then 124. Then 140. Then 190. And now this month we'll do over 200, right? And that's because we've mastered it. We know how to now just create views on demand. We know we've got our attention there now, so it's easy. We've built the base. We took a long time at the start to get it. We was cruising for a bit because we was trying to figure out what would work with it. And we cruised at like 4 to 6K around that mark for a bit, and then we figured it out, right? And so if it takes a while and you're not making any money, you're going to win in the long term, right? You might see all these other people that just get instantly to 10K a month, but I promise you, if you play the long game and actually do what we take seriously what we're talking about in this video today, you'll win over time. And I know that for a fact because I've seen it time and time again with Steven. There was people on my old 6-week program when I first started teaching people how to do this stuff, and they was straight out the gate flying. They were way in front of Steven. We had guys doing 20 grand in their first month. We had guys doing 14 grand in their first 10 days. And Steven was like frustrated. And I was like, nah, bro, trust me. Just trust the fucking process. Just trust the process. And I guarantee you'll take over these people and you'll have way more longevity and you'll win. And now Steven is winning, doing over 200 grand a month. He's got, you can touch on the other influencer talent side of the business if you want to touch on that, Steve. But he's not even just branching. He's branching out of OF management and making money elsewhere because of the brands that he's created with his creators, which is insane, right? And we see it with other people in my program, in the partnership offer and stuff, like Finn. Finn listened. He didn't try and take all these shortcuts. He was just like, right, I'm going to play the long game. This is really boring. This is a lot of hard work. I'm not seeing any instantaneous results. I've not got anywhere for 3 months. Are you sure this is what's going to work? Stick to the plan. And he sticks to the plan, and now he's doing over 100 grand a month, right? That's how it works. Once you crack it, it's so easy. And like I said, once you crack those verticals, you can just make videos that will just create views on demand, right? And that's how you can start to scale really aggressively and really fast and overtake all the people that are trying all these fast methods that have inconsistent income. Steve, I don't know if you want to add anything to that before I explain how the 6-week roadmap actually works in depth.
No, but I just want to, I'd back that statement. Like, I've seen it. People they do the black hat stuff. They're looking for dating apps, they're looking for this, they're looking for that. And it's like, they're looking for basically that sort of silver bullet, right? They're like, oh, how can I just make the money? It's just how do you just make the money come? How do you just make the traffic come? And the answer is it takes ages. Like, and yeah, like Dylan says, I faced frustrations early on in the business, but I was like, I'm not doing anything here. Like, nothing's happening. But I took a model from one of my very first clients. I took them from a $3,000 a month in their first month to a $16,000 a month to a 50 grand month in their third month. Ludicrous numbers, absolutely. But it's because we got that content tweaking right. We sort of got content nailed with that particular client. We knew their brand. We were working together, and we were really nail driving all the time. And took that club. I mean, I know I harp on about it all the time, but it still happens today. My operational target for every client we take on is to take them to 100 grand in 100 days. And I've done it dozens of times. And I'm seeing other guys doing similar work now as well. Like, Dale mentioned some of the other students in the mentorship, like Finn and a few other guys doing that exact same thing. But they're driving their businesses to 6-figure positions, and they're doing it in less than 6 months. Because they're taking the time, they're mastering the craft, and they're delivering results hand over fist every single day. It's phenomenal.
Yep. No, it's crazy. Like, and we've seen some, and like, if you really hit those verticals, and once you've been doing it for a while, like we've had some insane results. Like when we have, like, it hasn't taken the full 6-week process, and we just, because we can, it's kind of like just, you almost have a feeling and a know-how. Like, it's almost hard to explain, but like once you just get it, which you can only do by building this muscle of everything we're going to talk about today, but like once you just get it, sometimes you just know, right, we've signed this model, we've done this process so many times now, I just kind of know that these 3 verticals are going to work, and then they do work straight away, and you can see some insane results. Like we've literally, and like I can literally show the fucking the live results. Like we've literally taken a model from like $4,000 a month, and we've been like the first month we've been testing, right? And she's literally like making barely anything, like $200 a month, right? We're testing verticals, we're going through that process, and at that 4-week mark, at the month mark, we're like, we know what's working. We've already cracked it. We figured it out within 4 weeks. And then that next month, we did 4K in that first month, just testing, figuring shit out. We had a couple of stuff do well. So we made $4,000, right? From like $200. Solid, right? Solid first month. Second month, we doubled down on what was working and made them even better. And we went literally from $4,000 to $90,000. 4K to $90,000 in 30 days. And we grew a following by over 500,000. And so like, that's the power once you crack verticals, where you can just create views on demand. And like, there's so many little things you can do then, where you create one piece of content, or you have a really good content idea, just get her to film the same idea 3 times in 3 different outfits in 3 different locations. You get 3 uses out of 1 piece of content. And so like, you can do stuff like that as well, right? And so that's like a good way to utilize stuff. And also on stuff like Reels, videos that have done well in the past, maybe 1 million views, 2 million views, 10 million views, 20 million views, repost them again and they'll do well. You can't do it on TikTok, but on Instagram, you can. And so, yeah, let's just get straight into how this 6-week roadmap actually works, right? Now, week 1, you have to do the why you worksheet. Now, I'm not going to explain the entire why you worksheet today. It's kind of like what we've touched on. Let me see if I can just pull her up to show you an example really quickly. Yeah, Steve, I don't know if you got anything while I pull this up.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do a proofs in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
I'll just pull some results on my phone there.
Yep.
So this is exactly what we were just talking about, right? I'll lift my phone to the camera for you just now. Model that we started working with at the start of December, and you can see, I'll do a quick refresh, right? Here we go. I don't know if you can see that very well. Yeah, you can. There you go. Right? We started working with this model in December. Here we are, doing 2K a month on our own, sorted our content out, 13K, 38K. First day anyone's done nearly $1,500 already. That tells me on track, probably going to deliver 40, 50K this month if everything goes as planned. So moving from like what, the top 4% of the entire community to the top 0.2%.
Yep.
It's madness, absolute madness. All because we immediately isolated the content verticals that were appropriate for that individual. So exactly what Dylan just said there, we've got content verticals that we think are going to work for you. How do you feel about them? She was like, I love them. Let's do it. And she immediately attached to them, gelled with them really well. First couple of videos, not exactly. Third, fourth video, 500K views, 1 million views, 15 million views on one of them. Absolutely ludicrous, right? And just the business should blow up as a result of that. So, yeah, it can be done.
Yep.
You just need to practice.
Yep, 100%. And so if we look at this is like a why you worksheet, right? So creating viral sticky content. So define your why, right? The media you produce should serve a specific, well-defined purpose. This worksheet is meant to be a reference for you if and when you get stuck in the future. If the purpose of your social shifts at a future date, you can always update this document. So my channel or my account is about targeted to people who are. My goal in growing this audience is to, right? If making money from social media is the goal, your channel topic should fit one of the 2 following criteria at a minimum. is a topic or subject that exists within an industry that people already spend / make money in, is a topic or subject that people already spend time consuming media on. If your channel topic doesn't fit in one of these two criteria, monetizing may be difficult, even if you build a large following. For example, ranting about my mom may get views, but it may also have less than a clear path to monetization. Guest specific as well, right? If your channel's about cars, what kind of cars? If your target audience is car enthusiasts, what kind? Classic, muscle, electric, exotic, right? So in the beginning, we want to pick one specific group and branch out later as we grow. If you want to make a full-time living on your account or channel, then that's the best way to do it, right? And that's how influencers think. So we're thinking about how influencers think, right? And so this is like a defined, this is a completed worksheet example. I won't get into all this, but you can obviously see it here, right? So, if you want to pause the video, you can pause the video. But 6-week verticals. This is the workflow, the batching workflow, the ideas, how you come up with stuff, right? So first, do the define your why worksheet and the content verticals worksheet, right? Come up with your content verticals, do the define your why, boom, now you're good to go, right? Brainstorm 30 ideas into content verticals. Once you brainstorm them, draft 15 video scripts. These can be very, very rough drafts of the ideas, type out how it's going to go, whether it's like actual token scripts where there's going to be maybe some actual, voice in the video, or if there's not, then how is it actually going to be filmed? What is it, how's the angles going to be, what is the framework, right? So draft 15 video scripts and revise the 15 video scripts, come back to them on a fresh ad. How can you improve these? That hook's not that good. We should make that a little bit better, right? This is not going to keep retention. Maybe we add this instead. Maybe we get her to do this, blah, 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 right? So that's week one, right? Define your why, come up with your content verticals, brainstorm 30 ideas, and out of those 30 ideas, draft 15 of them into video scripts, revise the scripts, and at this point, you should have 15 scripts, 15 ideas. Week two, right? Again, continue brainstorming verticals, draft 15 additional video scripts, revise 15 video scripts, and batch shoot 15 videos, and edit 15 videos, and upload 12, right? You should have 3 edited, 12 uploads, 15 more scripts, and 15 more ideas, right? And so you can change like I said, the volume, but I would just stick with this as like a solid framework to start, especially if you're starting out. But you can change the volume, if your content creator is a beast and she can just pump out tons of content, then sick, right? But this is just an easy framework to follow. But again, you can choose these, right? So at this point, week 2, you should have 3 edited videos, 12 uploads, 15 scripts, 15 plus ideas. Again, week 3, continue brainstorming. You always want to continue brainstorming ideas. That's how you build the muscle, right? Draft 15 additional video scripts, revise, batch shoot 15 videos, edit 15 videos, publish 12. At this point, you should have 6 edited, 24 uploads, 15 scripts, and 15 plus ideas. When I say 6 edited that you haven't posted, right? And so you're keeping them on the back burner. The reason you want to do this is because you never know if, a model has let's just say you're batch shooting them on a specific day. So obviously we like to come up with ideas throughout the week, and then we'll have one day where we film all the videos, right? Like a Sunday, right? And so we'll film 30, maybe 40 videos on a Sunday, wherever it is, right? We want to keep some behind when we're posting, just in case for whatever reason, one Sunday, we can't film the videos for whatever reason. Maybe something crazy happens. We need those backups. So we're holding some back specifically. So we've got 6 kept back at this point, right? Once we've done that, boom, week 4, same thing. Continue brainstorming, draft 15, revise 15 videos, batch shoot 15 videos, edit, and publish 12. You should have 9 in the vault, 9 edited, 36 uploads, 15 scripts, 15 plus ideas. Week 5, this is where you should really start to see some trends and patterns. You can see them by week 3 and 4, but this is where you should start to see some trends and patterns, right? Brainstorm 15 ideas into the narrowed content verticals, right? So what is being working. If you can see at this point on your tracking sheet, which I'll show you guys. Let me pull this tracking sheet up. So this is what we use to track. We want to track this data, right? This ties exclusively into the 6-week roadmap, right? So by week 4, you would have had 36 uploads. Now, from these 36 uploads, if they're in 3 verticals, then you're going to have good data. If they're in 5 verticals, still good data, but maybe you might need to go through the entire 6 weeks. But let's just say you pick 3 verticals and you have 36 uploads, right? You obviously 36 divided by 3, wherever that is, that's how many times you would have uploaded that video within the 4-week period. Then this is every video you're going to do, you're going to track. Every single video you post, you come and paste the link. You want one for Instagram, you want one for Shorts, you want one for TikTok. So you're going to be posting different content across all platforms because all platforms are slightly different, right? And so you have your verticals in you. So comedy skits, for example, travel vlogs, collaborations, podcasts, regular or F-based trends, right? Those can be 5 verticals. And you can get really advanced and start testing verticals, but really I wouldn't worry about verticals for now. Like even we don't variables, sorry. Even we don't really test variables anymore, but like you could test recording in app on Reels. You could test recording with a professional camera. These are like, again, like the mechanical advantage that can make a video 1% better. You know, instead of getting 100,000 views, it might get 110,000 views or 101,000 or 105,000, right? Tiny little things. I wouldn't worry about this. This is like the very like higher echelon. Once you're cracking 1 million+ views every video, then you can start to look to see if there's little tweaks you can improve. That's maybe not the content itself. But for now, I wouldn't worry about these categories, right? So what you do, upload the video. Boom, video you, date, views, likes, comments, saves, shares. You can also get really fancy and add retention and all that kind of stuff, which I would highly recommend doing. But you can just look at that data anyway and understand. But what you're going to do over that 6-week period, so like we're at 4 weeks in, right? So 4 weeks in, we're going to have 36 ideas, right? So we're going to have all the way down to you. We can filter then by views and we can see what's performing based, and we're also going to have the content verticals. So if the top 5 are all travel vlogs, and that's clearly a vertical that's winning, right? As long as they're getting views. And so you know that that's going to be a narrowed vertical and something that you should start to pour your efforts into. So like I said, by the 4-week point, you should have 2 to 3 verticals that are performing above the others, right? If you're testing 5. If you're testing 3, maybe you've only got 1 to 2 verticals that are performing. So wherever you do, by week 5, you want to brainstorm now 15 ideas into the narrowed content verticals, right? The ones that have been working, right? And so like that's where you want to put the main effort, upload 9 of those videos, and at the end of the week identify the top 3 outperforming content verticals, and at the end of the week eliminate the 2 underperforming content videos, right? Verticals. Now at this point you should have 0 edited, none left in the bank, 45 uploads, 30 scripts, 15+ ideas still, right? And you still got scripts as well, right? And then you really know by week 6 you can really start to see, yep, these are definitely the 3 verticals we're going to go with. So just double down and go from there, right? Repeat, and then literally all you're doing is repeating weeks 1 to 4 as the content is performing. In this terms of the batch, you can start to mess with the way you batch. So you could, you know, do 30, you could double it, right? You could double this, double the input, you get double the output, and you might make more money, right? Might get more views, etc., right? So you can start to play around with stuff like that once you've got those narrowed verticals that are working. If it doesn't work, then, you know, begin the 6-week roadmap if content begins to underperform, right? So maybe you do find it work, but then eventually it starts to stale out and it starts to fail. Just begin the 6-week roadmap again, right? Or if it doesn't work at all, begin the 6-week roadmap again. But after 10 weeks of doing this, like if you do this for 10 weeks, again, you need to really revisit how to actually create good content, create a hook, because any topic, any vertical can trend if presented properly, right? If it's packaged properly, if it's presented properly. So if you have no traction by week 10, it's a production problem, not a vertical problem, right? So that is how the 6-week roadmaps work. And yeah, this is the best video on the internet right now in terms of this fucking shit, because we've just, yeah, this shit's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've pretty much just spilled our guts on how we make all our money, mate. So, like if you don't take what we've taught you and do something with it, that's on you. Like you're down.
Like
we've just given you and do something, you're down bad.
Yeah. We've charged thousands of dollars for this information. Like this is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like literally it's made me millions of dollars. like it's literally worth gold. So it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, literally, Steven Square's fucking gold is $1 million plaque. Like this information is the sole core foundation.
Still here. I haven't actually had a chance to hit. There it is. There you go.
It's the sole core foundation of our business for doing over $1 million. So that's why I give all the clients that we work with, when they cross 100K, we have a 100K plaque. Steven obviously has a 100K plaque. Yeah, and obviously now he has $1 million plaque. $10 million plaque next. I haven't even created a $10 million plaque, but that's. I'm
active, mate. I'm coming for it. I won't be long. I won't be long.
Yeah.
So get it designed fast.
So yeah, we've touched on that. Like, what do you want to talk about next? Because there's still some other stuff in this doc. Is there anything?
No, I think there's one thing we should talk about, right?
Yeah.
And I think we should just retouch on, because you mentioned it a few times. You mentioned
Mhm.
obviously that we are a community, right?
Yep.
And how we sort of, so what do we do with this information, right? How are we sharing
Mhm.
this information? Because we're sharing this information. We are definitely sharing this information with other people.
Mhm.
But like, I think it's probably time for the. Is it time for the big reveal, mate? Should we do the big reveal now?
Not quite yet. I got something else. I got something else.
Uh,
And also, we got to
that
solve model.
that
The
though,
bigger.
what I just did there is a hook. Sorry, guys.
So there's actually two big reveals: how to solve work ethic, and there's another reveal that we will reveal. But one thing I want to touch on as well is always think bigger. Like always think outside of the realm and approach stuff from different angles. I like to get people's angles on tons of different things, even when it comes to business in general. Like I had a call with a insanely wealthy marketing agency owner, and I was like, "How would you approach OnlyFans management as a marketing agency owner?" And he gave me some very unique perspectives that I've never thought of because I'm in this bubble of OnlyFans management, and he has an outside look and an outside perspective. And so, like, you also want to think about that when it comes to content. Don't just copy what everyone else is doing. Don't be average, right? Think bigger. Like, maybe we should do content days. Maybe we should do content shoots. Maybe we should hire studios. Maybe we should copy YouTube formats in the sense of, Sidemen Tinder works really well. That's a vertical. What if we recreate it, hire a studio and do it with our models, right? Think bigger because you can have big returns, right? And we've done tons of stuff like that and it works really well. Starting those channels that are the interesting channels that I forgot the name, like Jubilee and stuff like that. It's literally just a white studio. You can do that. It's not expensive. It's cheap to hire a studio. Think outside the box, right? Be different, and that's how your content's going to stand out, rather than just being another fucking bippity bop fucking bullshit. Here's some lingerie. Oh, now I'm in lingerie. Like, come on, like fuck me. It's 2024. Like, get original, right? And so yeah, that's the main thing. And stop following the fucking shiny objects. Like everything can work. Twitter works, Reddit works, all these things can work, right? But the best thing by a mile is organic content by a mile. It's not even close. My agency does all of them because we've got to that point. But we only focus on organic content for the majority of the time, and that's where the majority of our revenue comes from. And so don't try and do everything. If you haven't mastered one thing yet, don't try and do all of them. Focus on one, and the best thing to focus on, the highest leverage thing, is organic content by a mile. It's not even close. In terms of leverage, organic marketing is by far the best one. And so like think about, quality of clients over quantity, organic marketing as the core of the business. And if you can crack that thing, you're going to be very wealthy in the long term. And it's, it might not pay off instantly like a blackout strategy could, but in the long term, it's going to win. And so, Steve, I don't know if you got anything on that in specific, but I'll wrap it up and then I'll touch on the work ethic and the big reveal.
No, I had to get up there. Sorry, I had to go and let my dog out. That information was so good. There was so much sauce there that my dog has left to start an agency. So, yeah, that's how good it is. That's how good it is, guys. It's so good that my dog has just left to film great content. Apparently,
So,
he's gonna get active now.
that being said, conclusion. Attention is the number one asset in 2024. In a world of overflowing information, attention is limited. It's a scarce resource, just as oil was a key commodity that powered the previous century's economy. Attention is the driving force of today's digital economy. Attention translates into economic value, and for an OnlyFans creator, capturing the attention of an audience means potential subscribers and revenue. The more attention they garner, the more they can monetize their content. Attention is critical for marketing, and in the context of personal branding, it's about how well a creator can capture and maintain the attention of their target audience. This involves not just creating content, but also marketing it effectively through social media and other channels, right? So creating content isn't good enough. You have to become an organic marketer, right? So content is the medium through which personal brands are built and communicated, especially for an OnlyFans creator. Attention in this context is the most valuable asset, right? Because it translates directly into engagement and revenue. The ability to capture and retain attention through unique, consistent, and engaging content is what differentiates successful creators from the rest in this highly competitive digital landscape. Now, this is what you've been waiting for. Work ethic. How the fuck do we solve work ethic? Well, my friends, This is how we solve for work ethic. This is how you solve your own work ethic. This is how you solve models' work ethic. Now, this is what we call a 12-week year, right? Now, the biggest thing, before I touch on this 12-week year, let me explain why and what a 12-week year is, right? So, a 12-week year, everyone sets goals. Everyone's goal setters. Everyone has these big ambitions, these big dreams, right? That's what humans are. Oh, it's a new year, new me, right? But as you all know, the majority of people fall off their New Year's resolutions by the 17th of January because they hit it really hard, they burn out, they stop doing it. Now, the issue with setting yearly goals is it's too far away, right? And we as humans tend to think we can hit goals faster than what we can, and we've got more time to hit them. And all of a sudden, a year's gone past, you haven't hit your goals. And so what that means is January, you hit it hard, then you lay off the gas, and you're like, it's fine. I've got the rest of the year. I've got 11 months left to hit these goals. I've got ages. I'm good. Then it gets to November, and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm nowhere near my goals. I need to work really, really hard. So in November, you work really, really, really hard. In December, you work really, really hard. And so you spend 3 months of the year working towards a year goal. And it didn't work. And so it's easy to use our energy for 3 months. So what we do, what I do in my personal life, what we do with our models, is we break the year up into 4 years. We're actually living 4 years in 1 year because we treat each 12 weeks as a year, right? 12-week year, a 12-week year, right? Now, the reason it works so well is because in a 12-week year, in 3 months, you don't have time to lay off the gas. You've got to hit your yearly goal, right? But also, if you do fuck up the year, you've got another 3 years. And so you've got some redemption. And so a 12-week year is super powerful. Now, let me explain and show you the 12-week year. And I'll go through this as if I'm going to go through it with a model. So boom, we're on a call with a model, right? We explain the 12-week year planner, what it is, why it matters, right? Now, we want to look at the goals and vision, right? What are her goals? We want to come up with 4 goals. And those goals should be for the next 12 weeks. And remember that each goal should be realistic but challenging, but it should align with your long-term vision, right? And so long-term vision is the most key part. And this is also the fact-finding stage of if a model's not willing to do this or she takes ages to do it, you've already vetted her out. She's not going to be a good fit. Get rid of her. The work ethic's not there. If she can't do something this simple or she doesn't care to do it, then she doesn't care about her OnlyFans. She doesn't care about her vision. She doesn't care about her life. If she thinks this is cringe or she doesn't want to do it or wherever, you've literally vetted her out, right? So we also use this as a vetting process, and it can be really, really key. But we also do it to find out more about the model, so then we can figure out content around here, right? So this is the key and the secret. And so long-term vision. You want to think of, you want to get your model to think, right, what's the vision of your life in 5 to 15 years? You want it to get it right there. Physically, what does your body want to look like? How does she want to look? How does she want to be? Spiritually, mentally, relationships. Does she want to be married? Does she want to have kids? Financial, does she want to be a millionaire? Does she want to have 100K a month? Professionally, what does she want to be doing? Does she still want to be an OnlyFans creator in 5, 15 years? Does she want to pivot to something else? Does she want to be a porn star? Does she, what is it, right? Does she want to be a farmer? Wherever, right? Personal, what is her personal life? Maybe she just wants to travel the world in 5 to 15 years or wherever that is, right? Then you come up with a medium-term vision. So that is 3 to 5 years. So it's kind of going to be like this, but the shorter version, right? What is your vision in 3 to 5 years, right? Now, once you've got that, you write the goals, right? What are your goals? Okay, my goal is to create content every day. My other goal is, bear in mind, this is for the next 12 weeks. So create content every day. That's realistic, but it is also challenging. So that could be one of them, or create 30 videos a week. That could be another one, right? Get to 30K a month. That could be another one, right? So come up with 4 goals, boom. And again, I said, your goals should align with your vision. Then this is what matters, right? You want to write down why these goals actually matter. Goals are not good just to have as goals. This is the issue people make. They just write goals and think they're going to magically happen. I'm going to manifest them, or I'm just going to sit here and think that it doesn't fucking work like that, right? Why are these 12-week goals important to you? And if you hit them, how will you celebrate, right? You want to celebrate your goals. You want to build up that winner effect. You want to reward yourself. You don't want it to just be monotonous, right? So if your creator sets these 4 goals and she hits them in that 12 weeks and she wants to fly to the fucking Bahamas for a week and just chill and not do anything work related, let her fucking do it. You're not going to make as much money that week, but just let her do it. Stop being a fucking bitch. She's worked hard. She's hit her goals. Go to the Bahamas, right? Fucking chill. So you needed to come up with clear vision of how you're going to celebrate. And also you can do the same thing. Why are these 12-week goals important to you? What's the meaning behind them? Are they important to her because they're a stepping stone for her to retire her parents, a stepping stone to buy her mother a house, a stepping stone to live the life she's always wanted to live? What is the meaning behind them, right? And so once you fill this out, you now know, like, if she ever slacks, you can come back to her and be like, look, I know it's difficult to do this, what we're doing right now. I know it's hard. I know we're not potentially seeing results, wherever the situation is. But remember why you're doing this, right? Remember why. Remember your vision. We can't actually achieve that you can't actually live and achieve that dream vision if you're not doing these little actions every day, because it's a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And so you want to remind it. Once you've done it, you know why the goals are important. You've attached meaning, and you know how you're going to celebrate. You have this planner. And so you do all the tasks that you're going to need to do on a daily basis towards the specific goals, right? So, you know, if a goal is to create TikToks if a goal is to, you know, make 10K a month, then, you know, she's probably going to need to be active in chat, or she's probably going to have to be, like, I mean, active in the chat with you, not chatting. I mean, or, you know, she's going to have to be active creating content. And so that aligns with the goal. And then every day she does them, she takes her off, right? Or you can take them off for her, wherever you want to do. Then at the end of the week, you're going to see what days she didn't do, what days she did do, and then you're going to get a score, a percentage score. You want to stay above 85%, right? Otherwise, it's going to be difficult for you to hit the goals. You don't have to be perfect, but stay above 85%. You're going to do that over a 12-week period, right? And then at the end of the 12 weeks, you can have a 12-week average score, and that average score should be above 85%. And if there is, as long as you've been doing the right tasks toward the goals, you should have hit those goals, right? If you didn't, you probably picked the wrong task and you was working on the wrong thing. And if that's the case, it's fine. You've got another year. You've got another 12 weeks to do this again, right? Now, these are the key things. What will you struggle with to take these actions? So why would she struggle to create 30 pieces of content on a Sunday? Maybe one Sunday she has to go for her friend's birthday, or she's maybe away for the weekend and she can't do it. Okay, cool. That's fine. Write that down. And you're going to write down everything. Why would you struggle to take all the actions that we've discussed above? Why would you struggle? But then once you wrote them all down, maybe it's a fucking massive list. And if there is, what will you do to overcome those struggles? Because now what you're doing is you're solving the problem before it happens. So when these struggles do come up inevitably, you already know how to overcome them. So just do the thing. Just do the thing to overcome them. You've already solved it. So just do the thing. Let's just take an example of, yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to create 30 pieces of content on this specific weekend because I've got my friend's birthday and we're going away for a weekend and I just don't want to be creating content. I want to be present in the moment. Okay, cool. How do we solve that? Well, I mean, I could create backup. So maybe one Sunday I could do double the amount and that you could use those. Sick. We've solved it. Cool. Perfect. Or maybe, well, I could just stay up an extra hour when we get back, or I could wake up an hour earlier and I could do them. Okay, cool. You've solved it. When those problems come up, yeah, hey Dylan, I'm really struggling to do this today. Like, it's my friend's birthday, like I mentioned. Okay, cool. But remember, we've solved this, so just do the thing. Oh yeah, okay. All right, but yeah, blah, blah. But remember why this is important. Like, remember why these goals matter, right? Like, it's the little things. Like, yeah, missing one day might not kill you, might not hurt you, might not hurt the business, but you need to be consistent. You need to be true to your vision, and you're not going to hit your vision if you don't do it, right? So remember why these matter. Like, you want to retire your mom, right? Yeah. So do the thing, right? That's like how you solve for work ethic. That's how you solve for everything. This can fix fucking everything. This is like a genius fucking design, like the 12-week year. It's pretty phenomenal.
You know what the alarming thing is as well, mate, right? All the sheets, all the documents, all the mindset, right? It all falls back to one statement you've just said it about 5 times. Just fucking do the thing. Right? Just stop sitting on your arse and do the thing.
Yeah.
And if you can't do the thing now, then do the thing that you need to do at this moment and then do the thing. Don't go to bed until you've done the thing, right? Don't just lie on the couch and watch Netflix. Just do the fucking thing. That's it.
Yeah, it really is that simple. That's
it's insane, right? But like, I used to not do the thing. I actually done a YouTube video the other day about how much I didn't do the thing, right? I used to sit and play games all the time. I was not doing the thing. And now I have replaced not doing the thing with doing the thing. And I cannot sit still unless I'm doing the thing. The thing is for me, it's sorting out the client. It's making sure that we've got the content flow happening. It's making sure that there's new ideas in the buckets. It's making sure that we're signing new clients. It's making sure that the business is running, ticking. That's the thing for me. You need to do your thing and replace whatever vice you've got, whatever addiction, whatever other nonsense you're doing. If you're not improving somehow or moving forward somehow or making money somehow effectively, if you're watching this, you're probably an OFM, right? If you're watching, you're either that or you're a model. Either way,
Yep.
your objective is the same: make money. So
Yeah.
do the thing.
Yeah. And this video is tailored to like OFM agencies, but if you're a model, like this applies, just do it on your own. Like you don't have to work with an agency, just literally do the things we've talked about in this video, just do it by yourself and you can make it work. Like I know plenty of girls that do and they're making tons of money. And so like just do it yourself, right? But like obviously it is easier to have someone that knows what they're doing to work with you to do it because it's a team effort and it's not just, you're not just doing it yourself. You have someone to hold you accountable. Like you have people with experience, right? So like, you know, if you was to work with us, it's going to be a lot easier, right? That's just is the reality. Like, you know, it's probably going to take you 12 months together on your own and it would take us like 6 weeks, right? 4 weeks. And also there's tons of other things as to why it is a benefit to working with us, you know, all the chat and stuff, but we're not going to get into that. This is not a pitch to get models. This is just genuine straight value.